why Jerry Jones needs a new general manager, and the owner suite needs to be boarded up with him in it. Let him get a checkbook, let him write a check, and keep him away from everything else. We'll do that coming up. But before I get to that, Erica Herskowitz is standing by. She's got this Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Rich, well, the World Series gets back underway tonight with the Dodgers and Yankees squaring off in Game 2 at Dodger Stadium. Last night, Freddie Freeman's dramatic 10th-inning grand slam off Nestor Cortez in the opener gave L.A. the 1-0 lead in the best-of-7 Fall Classic. And tonight, the Dodgers, they'll be giving the ball to righty Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The Yankees, they'll counter with lefty Carlos Rodon. First pitch from Chavez Ravine is set for just after 8 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, top 25 college football going on right now. Fourth quarter, under 2 minutes to go. And number 4, Ohio State leads Nebraska 21-17. Also late fourth quarter, it is number 18 Ole Miss in front of Oklahoma 26-14. Just getting underway in the first, number 11 BYU is taking on Central Florida, and they are scoreless. Earlier today, number 12 Notre Dame blew out number 24 Navy at MetLife Stadium 51-14. Number 13 Indiana crushed Washington 31-17. Tonight, third-ranked Penn State visits Wisconsin, and in a matchup between ranked opponents, number 14 Texas A&M hosts number 8 LSU. There are a few games on the ice this afternoon. 3 winding down. Third period, the Sabres lead the Red Wings 4-3. The Wild and Flyers, they are tied at 5 late third period. Coming up, the Utah Hockey Club will face off against the LA Kings. From the NFL, according to reports, the Rams are open to trading away all-pro cornerback Tre'Davious White, who's been inactive the last 2 games after Darius Williams returned from the hamstring injury. Meanwhile, Week 8 injury notes. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels' status for tomorrow's game against the Bears is still questionable as he participated in a walkthrough today trying to make his way back from the rib injury. And Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins is questionable for tomorrow's game against the Eagles after he suffered a quad injury during practice yesterday. Jaguars tight end Evan Ingram's removed from the injury report, so he will play against the Packers after dealing with a hamstring injury. I'm Erica Herskowitz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com.
Big Red Overreaction. It is a final in Columbus, Nebraska, falling to Ohio State 21-17. Nick Handley and Gary Sharp with you on this afternoon. We know you're going to have a lot to get to, as we do as well, and that might be the most appropriate sound right there, Mr. Gary
Did
Sharp.
you shake this up before you
No,
gave it
I
to
didn't.
me?
Oh, I forgot to tell you, though, they're a little foamy there.
Man,
they're just a little bit foamy
you just
there.
gave me head.
We could all be so lucky right now after that game. Actually, it was a game of, I think, varying emotions in this one. If I would tell you on Friday, 21-17, Ohio State comes from behind in the fourth quarter and holds on to beat Nebraska. I think most of Husker Nation would have taken that. That's where we are. And you also would have thought Nebraska would have played near one of its better games. That wasn't the case either.
No, here's how I look at this game. And I know there's going to be a wave of emotions, and I can't wait because the reaction to this game is going to be really, really different between Matt Rhule and Ryan Day. And I think the reaction might be different between, like, if we're having competing call-in shows. This is what this game showed me. I said last week on Big Red Overreaction, all right, now I'm on to the response. 49-point loss, it is what it is, but I want to see what the response. I saw enough from one side of the ball. The one side of the ball proved to me that they've had 2 anomalies this year, and they've learned from it. Yeah, it's frustrating. Could have been better defensively against Illinois. Could have been better defensively against Indiana. It is what it is, but it's all about the response. And the response today was what I needed to see. And you had 2 blown assignments that really, really hurt you. But what this game is today, and I know you and I have talked about like the ceiling, the floor, does it get adjusted? It shows what college football is week to week. Last week, Nebraska got beat by 49. This Saturday, they took a team down to the final play. What today showed is there are multiple players and coaches who got exposed today for what happens when you play top teams. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what happened today. And then it also showed you, because there's the left hand and the right hand, there are players on this team that are ready for prime time. So you have to balance that. And Nebraska is who they are and played. I don't know. I want to sit here and go, man, they played hard today. They played with some pride. There's some guys that got embarrassed last week that played with some pride. And as a result, they did their job and they gave themselves a chance to win today. And, they had to fight through a lot of stuff, man. There's some crazy things that happened in this game that Nebraska kept their head above water until the end. And it's going to be a little frustrating. I don't want to get into, hey, they went to Columbus.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll be interested what the tone is on this show.
I am too. I absolutely. And you know
let's
how
drink
the show
some
works.
beer. Let's talk some football. Let's talk about officiating in the Big Ten Conference.
And it's a problem. And as you mentioned, both coaches, I'm sure, are going to have at least questions about it. What they decide to say about it remains to be seen. We are awaiting the Matt Rhule press conference. This is how you get into the show. You know how it works. 402-951-1620. That is the number to the Jay Stinnett contracting hotline. 402-951-1620. We are loaded right now. No good? No good? A little bitter?
It doesn't taste very good.
No? Oh,
No.
I've had it in the
I was so
fridge.
excited to have Yingling.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Did I let you down? Your expectations
I think
were
maybe
high?
I got a bad can. That's fine. I'm just going to put that aside.
God,
Okay.
geez. It was my name on the treats this weekend. I brought the treats and they're not.
Those are
delivering.
great treats. I think I just got a bad can.
Okay, we'll chalk it up to that. Big Red Overreaction again brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Also brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. And we will give you a Peerless Energy Systems scoreboard a little bit later. Again, we're waiting for Matt Rhule. So let's get right to it. Get to the phone lines. Let's lead off with Ben. Ben, you are on Big Red Overreaction. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Did I hear a Yingling that was cracked in the background?
Yeah, we're Yinglinging it.
Gary, I'm so sorry. It's unfortunate. That's fantastic beer.
I know it is. I was so excited when Nick told me yesterday he had some Yingling. I think I just got a bad can. It's a little flat. Yeah.
We'll chalk it up to that. That's
I agree.
I guess my comment is I before the game started, I texted a buddy of mine and I projected the score 52-14. So obviously we weren't there. We didn't give up that many points. Defense did play a lot better. Gary, I think you said they did give up some, those 2 touchdowns, missed assignments, whatever the case may be. But when is our idiot offensive coordinator going to stop calling freaking screenplays that get tackled for losses 6-8 yards in the backfield? They're not working. You cannot call a screenplay on a 3rd and 9 when the screenplay has gotten you negative yardage all game long. What makes you think that you're going to get a first down on a 3rd and 9 with the screenplay when you've gotten tackled in the backfield the entire game? Play calling was just not there. Red zone, especially in the red zone. I'll give it to John Hull. Like, I did not expect him to
There you go.
3 for 3 field goals today, so that's good. But I mean, the offensive coordinator, the play calling stuff it just blows my mind. I'm not a coach. I just sit here and drink beer on the couch and watch football. That's all I do. But I'll hang up and listen to you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ben. That leaves the line open on the Jay Stinnett contract.
So I don't like the math. There were times where they ran a screen and Satterfield's in love with the horizontal passing game and passes behind the line of scrimmage and then let guys block. There were a lot of times on the screen where it was 3 Nebraska guys against 6 Ohio State guys. Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. That's not good math.
Nope.
And I just, I'm going to go back. I said this right away, and I'm sticking to this, Nick, and I'm probably going to repeat myself numerous times. I'm going to repeat myself on Monday. There are multiple players and coaches who got exposed today because this is what happens when you play top teams. Then there are players that showed everybody they're ready to play in the prime time. And the offensive coordinator in Nebraska fits under that category. Now, not all the play calls And poor execution is his fault. But, I mean, you have to read the room and you have to know what Ohio State is loading up on. And even like the second down play, what was it? The second down play where they got called for a penalty.
Yeah.
Nobody was ready.
Nope.
There was confusion on, I think, what the play call was. It would just, it's a one-score game where when you're in a one-score game, you have to, when things are going against you, you have to create breaks. And one side of the ball created a break except for the game-winning touchdown drive right after a score that they gave up where they got no pressure on the quarterback. And the offense didn't help itself today. And that goal line stand is going to stand out as well.
Yeah, Nebraska defensively has a goal line stand early to set the tone, but then that goal line stand after the Hartzog interception, whether there was confusion if the ball should have been spotted closer to the 1, if it's at the 2. This is where I look at both, okay, what do you call in that situation? But also your running back, if he just cuts to the left, he's scoring easily on that play as well. So that's
Nebraska's
there
running
are
backs.
moments of that.
Nebraska's running backs need LASIK.
Just
Lance
like
Kugler, bring back this segment that's sponsored.
Yes.
Nebraska's running backs with vision is just, again, I think today, I don't think there was anything new today. It just Nebraska played. Nebraska did their job better than they did their job last week. And we can focus on Ohio State if you want. I don't think Ohio State played well, but a little bit it was. You got to give credit to Nebraska. Nebraska forced Ohio State to kind of show some of their true identity in a game that was perfect to be played at 11 a.m. if you're a road team coming off a 49-point loss, because Ohio State didn't seem to be engaged in that game at all until the end when their lunatic head coach went nuts, and only 2 guys in this league can get away with what he did, Ryan Day and P.J. Fleck. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, exactly. Going back to the Jason to Contracting Hotline, 402-951-1620. Kyle, you're up next on Big Red Overreaction. Good afternoon.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good, Kyle.
Good.
Hey, listen, I'm not the most football savvy guy in the world. Not gonna lie, I'm not gonna jump on here and act like I am. And I'm a first time caller. Listen for years and years and years and years. Never called. But first of all, am I the only one having flashbacks like a MFer? Like Pelini in that Virginia Tech game when Sue hit that guy out of bounds, it's a 15-yard penalty, correct? Yeah, I don't know. Remind me if I'm right. I don't know. But he gets a first down, or they get a first down off that, and then hit what's his name in the end zone right after that, I believe. I can't remember. I'm damn near losing my mind over this game.
Talk yourself through it. Here we go.
It's just crazy. There's no downfield threat in the play calling. You're going to call bubble screens all god darn day.
Thank you.
It's
Good save.
Absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's freaking ridiculous. I understand wanting to run the ball and get some momentum going that way, but when you got a chance to throw the football, and DR is playing a hell of a game today, right?
Hey, that was he played tough. I think without question, he played tough.
He was hanging in there, man. DR was hanging in there, and they don't want to freaking throw the ball down the field. You want to throw bubble screens all day? I have Bill Callahan flashback just driving in my freaking temple all day. And then here we go. It's just Ohio State is not what we think they are.
Hey, Kyle, we got to cut you off right here because Matt Rhule is speaking at the podium.
Kyle, but take a deep breath. I'm gonna put you on pause or on hold here, and we'll come back to you. Okay.
Here's Matt Rhule speaking after the game.
Well, first credit to Ohio State. They made the drive in the fourth quarter, made the plays on defense they needed to do to win the game. I just have to be very careful with what I say because people take things I say and sometimes hear something else because my wife tells me I don't communicate the best sometimes. So I have to make sure I say this the right way. As you go through this, the hardest part of what we did when we went to Temple and what we did when we went to Baylor was getting guys not to say, oh, here we go again, and getting guys not to expect to lose. Getting everyone, including the people around the program, not to focus on always on what's wrong, but what's right, right? And that's hard, right? You're constantly talking to your staff, your coaches, your players. Last week was a low for us since we've been here. Because the minute the game got hard, we kind of looked around like, oh no, what's happening to us? Kind of victims, like, yeah, this is happening to us. And this was a hard week. But a week that I knew, because of my experiences, we would turn into something good. We would teach. The players would see us, instead of us being defensive as things are said, they would see us stand like men. Anyone can just be defensive. Like, just stand like men in front of them, not blame the players, but work hand in hand with them. And we expected to come here and win the football game. We expected to win. And so I say this, to me, it's so hard because you don't want it to sound like a moral victory because we lost, and we're not here to lose. We're the University of Nebraska. We're not here to lose. But in terms of the development and growth of what you're trying to build, because while the world and everyone wants things to happen quickly, if you want it to be sustainable, if you want it to last forever, you have to do it the right way. I get asked a lot of questions about, why aren't we doing it this way, that way? We're trying to build something sustainable. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Who knows? A lot of you guys have seen a lot of guys come here, try to do it, and it hasn't worked. So I'm trying it a different way. I was proud of that football team today. I was proud. They didn't back down. They had some really tough breaks. They had some things really go against them, even the way we started. And they competed. It was the first time. It's the first time since I've been here that I felt a championship mindset in the locker room. Along with the championship mindset, as those who compete know, comes utter disappointment when you lose. So that part's hard. It's hard for the guys. But I saw a group of guys, even at the very end, take the field, going out there to make one more play, have a chance to compete against one of the best teams in the country. So I thought they grew up. I challenged them. It better look this way next week. Some of the football still's tough. It's hard. You're literally, you got some of our administrators that hear me on the field. I'm still, you got some young guys out there. You're still coaching things out there in the middle of the game that in a year or two, you hope that it's second nature. It's just what it is. But for those of us who believe in the long way, the hard way, for those of us who haven't had things handed to us, for those of us who believe in building, for those people who believe in putting in an honest day's work, like I hope while they're disappointed, they're proud of what they saw, of what they competed. And while I yelled at the officials sometimes and all that, our players didn't let it bother them. Our players just continued to compete. Thought we played with class and dignity. We had a chance to win. So I know that's long. I know it's hard. I don't say that to justify what we're doing. I'm saying that so our players will understand why I'm so proud. Not satisfied. That's very, very, very important. There are no moral victories, but proud. With that, I'll take what questions you guys have.
Can you discuss how you had success against Ohio State's run game, both what you guys did well and what you might have been able to take advantage of in terms of what Ohio State was doing?
I thought our defense was dominant all day. Save 3 plays, take away 3 plays. I think on the first one, we were playing a little 3 down and we took advantage of it. Tony did such a nice job. We kind of recognized pretty early we were going to be able to rush the passer, so he went back to 4 down. The second one, kind of a condensed set check, and they just, Jeremiah is a really, really good player. He ran by us, and just a nice play by them. Just they made a play, right? And then really the third one, they just kind of ran a double move out and up and just caught us in the zone coverage where you need someone just to make a great play. We just, we didn't see it. But on those 3 plays, I think that was probably as good a defense as I've seen, for most of the day. I thought we tackled well, we handled the run, we won on the perimeter, we hit the quarterback. But I think my eyes aren't very good, so it's hard. I don't know what the third down numbers were, but I thought we were excellent on third down, including some 1 for 10, some 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s, a 4th and 1 stop. So, we won until the last play. We won the turnover battle with Malcolm's great pick. So, I don't think it was anything special. They have a great run game. Chips, they've got great players, got a great coach. I think our guys just played really well, played physical, played hard. got off blocks. We didn't do anything real special today.
Ohio State defense is obviously really good. There's moments, obviously, I'm sure you're thinking of guys here, is in the goal line situation. There's 4 plays from the 7 hole, and the runs. Maybe just walk us through the process of those play calls and how you feel like that is serious.
Yeah, I think you have the ball down there, you need to score a touchdown. I can only really probably talk about the last one. We had them set up to run the speed sweep. We thought we'd get in. When Jalen went down, we thought Jalen went down inside the 1. As the official came out, he's coming down like on the 1 yard line, and then as he runs out, that's how you spot balls, right? Kind of goes to the 2. We lost Barrett, our fullback, last week, so we had to use defensive players. So we send them out, thinking the ball's in the 1. As the ball gets respotted back to the 2, and you probably saw me pretty animated about it. Now you're calling that play from the 1.5, 2 yard line. I think the same play happened right before the half, right? Like we thought we had a first down, so then we had to, burn it. So, and I'm not complaining about the officiating. I'm just telling you the impact. And when you're on the road in this environment with the noise and all the things that are happening, credit to the Ohio State fans. What a great environment. I mean, the red coats, from the minute you get here, they're nice and friendly to you, and the game starts, and they're here to make that hard. A ball you think spotted somewhere that gets moved back really affects the play calls that you have. I do think, it's hard in life, you have to find, at the end, when you look at the results, if they don't work, they don't work. But you're also saying to yourself, the best things we did today were also Dante on some big runs, and so, if you want to run the ball, you have to sometimes be willing to have a 2 yard gain, a 3 yard gain, which sets up now a ball outside, which we thought maybe Jay Lloyd would score on. And if not, we said, we'll get the ball down inside the 1 and we'll pound it. If it's 4th and 3, then we'll throw the ball in. I think the spot got us. And again, I didn't want to use a timeout there in the second half. Maybe I should have. But I knew the game would come down to the end. We need the timeouts. And the other thought process being, if we run the ball, if we pound it in there, we run the ball at the 1, score. If we don't get it, we'll get the ball right back, which we did. And that's kind of the thought process down there.
Matt, can you detail that championship mindset that you saw and just when and how that came through to you in the locker rooms through the week, and when did you see it?
I think I've been pretty consistent in saying, to you guys, I think the guys do a great job during the week. It's getting to these moments and saying, here we go again. I'm just, again, I don't want anyone to take anything I say the wrong way, because everything I say is with peace and love. But when they haven't won, and then the commentary around them is always pretty like, hey, this isn't good enough. They're in a culture where all they hear is like, this isn't good enough. And so how do you get them through that? You push them through that. It's just what it is. Like, you push them through that. And so we always work hard. I've never had a time where I thought the guys didn't work hard. But I thought they went out there. I mean, the game couldn't have started any worse. I mean, it's like, holy smokes. And the defense took the field like last year and said, let's go get a stop. They got to stop. What I thought it was before the game, and I thought it was at halftime. Really at halftime, I told them. Because last week I said some different things to them at halftime. And this week at halftime, I said, this is what it's supposed to look like. If I start worrying about the results only, and you had a coach, you had Coach Osborne, who all he talked about was the process and not the results. I mean, everybody knows what it's supposed to look like. Coach Osborne taught us. He showed us. Like, worry about the process. And so, to me, the way it felt at halftime was the process. Like, they were excited to get back out there and play. They were not like, oh man, I can't believe I can't believe they called OP offensive pass interference on that play. They don't worry about that, which a lot of times our guys have worried about. You always got me saying, like, just play. What's next? Just play. What's next? And so I felt like a lot of the things we talk about took hold today. And that to me is something I feel relieved. I feel despondent that we lost the game. I thought we were going to win the game. I feel beat up for the guys. But I know when I say these things, a lot of people are probably going to take them the wrong way. I also know, like, across the country, I tell Troy, like, I got college coaches who text me sometimes like, hey, Matt, I listen to your press conferences every week, because I'm really honestly doing my best for people who want to hear it, not pick it apart, but want to hear it, trying to give everyone a step-by-step picture of what we're trying to do. It's easy to pick apart. But like, I'm just trying to like lay it out there for people who love coaching and love kids. Do you know how hard it is to like come up here every week and talk about what went wrong without ever making a kid look bad? Like, I listen to coaches all the time talk about, we got to execute. That means your players aren't very good. When coaches say we just got to execute better, they're throwing it on the kids. And just, we stand up here and we try so hard to give everyone a true picture. Because one thing I love about Nebraska fans is they love football. They want to know the hows, the whats, the whys. And I listen to the people I trust. Like I called Coach Osborne on Sunday. I said, Coach, got 5 minutes for me? What do you think? Coach Osborne and Coach Solis came to practice on Tuesday. Coach, And the old things are the real things, are the good things. And so I'm only saying this now because I want our players, if they just listen to this press conference, to know how truly, truly, truly excited I was to be in that locker room with them. I didn't have to be a cheerleader today. I didn't have to be like, come on, you can do this. Like, they were like, get out of the way. And we've had moments like that. That was 60 minutes of that today. Dylan went into the tent before the last drive. I'm like, hey, Heine, get ready to go. And Dylan comes back out. He's like, let's go. And, Dylan didn't want to just be in the game. He wanted to go win the game, right? And it got really, really, really loud, so we had the false start and we don't miss a play. But so the football will get better. The football will continue to get better. But make no mistake, the hardest thing is building a culture of championship caliber expectations without winning. There's a lot of guys that have taken a lot of jobs that are already winning and they keep it going. I should probably try that sometime. But this to me is why the Lord put me on this earth, like to work with young people and to have them raise their expectations. And it's why these guys are here. I mean, that's Dylan, Jacory. They could have gone somewhere where they were already winning. They came here to build it. So I'm proud of them. And I say all this because I hope fans are disappointed, but I hope they're proud of them. Now, if we don't do it again next week, Mitch, to your point, if we go out there next week and we're front runners again, then it was all for naught. Like, this is a step, and it has to be where we are now, that we play this way every week. The football has to be better, but anyway, my take.
How much did John make those kicks and how it lifted the team maybe in the locker room against that 54-yarder?
Well, I'm so fired up for him. And again, on the same vein, on the same point, because even last week, I think Mitch asked me, like, hey, did you not kick it because of – I said, hey, I think he's going to make these kicks. And it was a great question. I'm not saying that, Mitch, to you, please. I think it's the right question, right? But if you go back to my answers, I was like, hey, I think he's going to be a great kicker someday. I mean, I've said that on record. Like, I think he's going to be a great kicker someday. It's just – things take time. But now you have him for what? How many years do you have him for? You have him for 4 years? So you have that kid who makes those kicks in those moments. Like, if you want to know why I feel fulfilled, not satisfied, but fulfilled, it's because if you go back to my press conference a couple weeks ago, I told him, I said, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, man. Like, you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death. But in this program, you don't have to walk there alone, right? Like, you walk there arm in arm with the guys. Like, every day he kicks field goals. You know who's standing right next to him cheering him on? Jacory. Jacory. Screaming. That's our starting freshman wideout, screaming. And he made those kicks. I mean, I was like, man, I said to Mar before the game, like, hey, if it's a long kick, should I put him out there? His confidence. Brett was like, don't worry about his confidence. Put him out there. So I think some of our guys are really getting better.
Last one.
I'll answer them all today. I spent a lot of time philosophizing. They have some football questions.
Well, I was going to ask, how satisfied were you with your physicality today? Because it looked like you owned the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and you go back last week. I don't. It's going to sound weird. I don't know that like our guys weren't willing to be physical. We were just really out of whack. Like, we were expecting one type of game, and it was another type of game. Now, we didn't tackle well. Today, I think the guys squeezed blocks and ran the ball together. And sometimes you give up. You're playing really good run defense like that, and all of a sudden you give up a big play, and all of a sudden guys start to panic a little bit. But they didn't. And we played a lot of guys. We didn't have Tommy today. Sierra played. Malcolm moved to corner for us. Malcolm played corner. Keys played safety. Deshaun played safety. Jeremiah finished the game at corner when Malcolm went down. So, we want to be a physical team. We wanted to be the most physical team on the field today. We wanted to win the turnover battle. We wanted to have a culture of execution, do our job. But more importantly, we wanted to be the more physical team. That's a physical team too. Like, they play defense. And, one of the tough things we're going on is 4 straight games of us going into a team off a bye. A team off a bye has 2 weeks to study you, 2 weeks to prepare for you. So we came out early on, corners over man, and they run to cover 2. And so we lose a play there. And Dylan did a great job. The little things Dylan does, no one will see, but did a good job of getting us in the right plays after a while. Sorry, Brian.
How would you sum up the last offensive series? As you mentioned, Dylan, you didn't know if you're going to have them maybe, and it was chaotic because they're breaking the action while they're figuring out penalty and all that stuff.
Well, it was breaking the action too, because they told us to come in the middle of the field because they were throwing bottles, right? Like, I mean, like, let's talk about, and that was there's water bottles. Hey, trust me, I'm from Philly. I'm all for all of that. Like, I mean, that doesn't bother me. I just got the guys in the middle, so let's go. But we had the penalty, right? And there's 3:45 left, and so we always expect something good to happen. So really, in those situations, we call it last shot. You're trying to get the ball with a 2-minute warning, so that they don't have an opportunity to go back and answer. Like, you're either going to win that, you're going to win that on a game-winning buzzer beater at the end of the game, go down there and throw a touchdown and give them 17 seconds left, or not. So that happened. We ran the screen play, and we just missed the block on the man-to-man defender. We have them. We just missed the block on the man-to-man defender. Come back, they're being pretty exotic there. I didn't see, the last plays. We're pushing the ball down the field. I didn't see exactly what happened on that last play, but these are great reps for Dylan. I mean, I know he wanted to win. These are great reps for Gunner. These are great reps for Ja'Cory. A lot of those guys, that Isaiah Nayor today showed up and played probably one of his best games. Yeah, I mean, I have to see exactly. I mean, they've got quite a pass rush. They've got great players on defense. And, I thought we hung in there, though, on those plays. They got us on 0 the one time in the red zone. That was really difficult because we would have kicked a field goal there, and that might have changed the game. We called a ball to try to get the ball to his hands, and they just brought more than we could block and, didn't get it off. So we had some other opportunities that we just have to keep working on.
What is your analysis
Of the screen game? I thought today we thought because of their pass rush, we'd really have to screen them because they've typically historically been a 4-man rush team with Larry Johnson. They brought a lot more pressures today. And so sometimes the dropping ends, I think we had one early that we liked, but other than that, I think early in the game we said, hey, let's get out of the screen game. It's just more of a zone blitz pressure game. And then, the one at the end, it's first and 8 for 15 or whatever it was. And, we went to a man beater and just didn't make the block, So wasn't good enough probably today. That part of the football was definitely not good enough, the screen game.
You talked about the championship attitude in the locker room. You're the first team to score in Ohio State in the third quarter. In fact, you outscored them 3-0. Was that attitude? Was there some key adjustments that you made? What was your success there?
I thought we found some runs in the third quarter. We ran a couple wham trap plays. We whammed the 3 technique, and Dante was close to splitting one. He looked like he was about to go for 80, and the guy came and tackled him around the ankles. So I thought we got the run game going there. And, we punted the ball down, then we got the pick, so we played on their side of the 50. We look back at the game just from a football perspective. You have to make more of those opportunities, whether it's the goal line plays that Sam talked about or not always kicking field goals, but scoring some more touchdowns. That was part of it. But, again, they have a great defense. But our kids made some plays to hang in there and stay with it.
Did you lose a timeout there at the end because of Ohio State injury, or how did that happen?
Yeah. So it was 3rd and 11. So I wanted to call timeout because I wanted to get the ball back and save 40 seconds. Then, the guy went down. So I just said, hey, do I get that timeout back? Because every crew's a little different. Sometimes they'll give you that timeout back. I wanted it back. I didn't get it back. And then And then, we had that situation where the targeting plus the catch. And then I was watching, I saw Coach Day, out there at the numbers, and they threw 15 on him. So then when they unthrew the 15, I was just confused, right? I'm trying to figure out where the ball's at. So a lot of these, it's just so loud out there. Sometimes if it looks like you're like this, I had him come over because you think the ball's going to be at the 35-yard line, you're calling a different play than if the ball's at the 50 or the ball's at the minus 45. So, if a flag's thrown, I can't hear when they say like, hey, that I can't hear what's being said. So I'm just trying to figure out what happened. There were unique circumstances, right? Like I said, they had us come out. They said, hey, bring your team off the sideline. That wasn't me trying to motivate the guys. That was me like, hey guys, put your helmets on. Something might hit you. So, but again, at the end of the day, credit to Ohio State. They made plays. They made the play. They made the drive to go down there and win. And their defense made, one more play than we did. And, but we'll be back.
What was that?
I don't know that. They said it was in the 10. I don't know if he got hit on the shoulder or something. I'm not sure exactly. Anybody? All right. Thank you.
You got Malcolm and
All right, that's head coach Matt Rhule speaking, a little more reflective from the 21-17 Ohio State victory over Nebraska. We've got calls lined up. We are going to get.
Can we go back to Kyle?
We do need to get to Kyle before we take a break and get back to all the rest of you. Kyle, you heard some stuff. You had
What's
a chance
up,
to collect. What do we got?
A little bit. I feel like I've calmed down, a tad bit. I'm just super disappointed by this game. I don't care. There's no participation trophies where I'm from. There's no feel-good stories in my neck of the woods. I don't appreciate it. I don't love it. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't need it. So I don't know where I left off at, but some of the things that really just, put a stick in my craw, or however the hell that saying goes, is just when I'm having flashback problems. Like Pelini in the VT game got a penalty out of bounds, 15 yards, cost us a game-winning drive. Ryan Day acts like a complete a-hole on national television, and there's just like, oh, Ryan, are you sure you want to do that? Oh my God, here, no penalty. Okay, so that's one thing, and then there's no downfield threat in the play calling. We're running bubble screens all gosh darn day. It looks absolutely sad and pathetic. There's no way around it. The refs, they blow the. Ohio State is clearly not the team we thought they were at the beginning of the year when we predicted this whole college football season. So, the fact that we're surviving late or we're getting to a late game situation where we have a chance to win or make some clutch plays and pull a game out and getting beat close, it does me no good. It does me absolutely no good. I don't think Ohio State is the team we thought they were with Howard at quarterback like they have right now. And the field goal kicker, hey, he came through like no other. This man played the game of his life.
Yeah, you're right, Kyle. You're right.
Thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate you calling in, my man. There are a lot of things we're going to get to here because we're going to reset it, get to the top of the hour, get to your calls. We do have a line open now here on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline at 402-951-1620. Logan, Freddie, Jim, we are going to get to you and the rest of you too. Also, everybody in the stream. A lot to unpack from this one. Nebraska losing 21-17. Big Red Overreaction is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. The Jay Stinnett Contract Hotline for you, 402-951-1620. Also, Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, a proud sponsor of Big Red Overreaction. Also, brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. And we will have a scoreboard update brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started here. It's Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. Nebraska falls to Ohio State 21-17. They now are at 5-3 on the season, 2-3 in Big Ten play. Ohio State 6-1 and 3-1 in Big Ten play, coming off of the bye week, setting up for a showdown next week for the Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions. Nebraska comes back home to take on UCLA, where they will try to get bowl eligible. Some quick numbers here before we get to the phones here. And again, 402-951-1620 is the number to the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Nebraska outgained in the total yards of 285 to 273. Ohio State 221 in the air to Nebraska's 152. But Nebraska does outrush Ohio State 121 to 64. The sack-adjusted rushing yardage for Nebraska, 142 to 74 of Ohio State. As you heard Matt Rhule talk about, very poor third down conversion rate, really, for both teams. It's Nick Hanley, it's Gary Sharp with you, Big Red Overreaction. Gary, we started off saying it. We heard from Matt Rhule. That was the second time I think I remember now in his time here in 20 games at Nebraska where he has said, nope, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to answer every question. The way that I would describe that tone was very reflective. Whether you wanted to hear that or not, I would say it's very reflective.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting approach to do a big picture presser, kind of about the process at that moment. I don't know. I think there's some things that are going to bug him about this game that he doesn't have a lot of control over. So he went that route. I just think you kind of have the balance of Matt Rhule's now been here for 20 games. A lot of us have been around here a lot longer. Mm-hmm. So when you go into something like that after another one-score loss, we all kind of roll our eyes. Yeah. I think he told you a little. He told you a lot with saying kind of just a little about where this program is, where to come out and play against Ohio State right now, they're in a situation where they just can't line up and go 11 on 11. Mm-hmm. They got to come out and play free and easy. They did that today. They did that on defense. They played free and easy, and they just went out and balled, but they just don't have enough guys. But yet, they went out and just balled, and they're playing against the most expensive college football roster in America, and they made it a one-score game. So I see what his balance is. It's just he's talking as a guy that just got here to people that have been here for a while, and that sounds like we've heard that before.
Yep.
But I think you also go that approach when you want to explain some things, but everybody in the room goes, yeah, if you know, you know.
Right.
Because they got some things that, reared their ugly head again today that have been issues for a good majority of the season.
If the game was going to be close, we thought it'd be next to one of their best efforts, and it was far from that, but here they are losing by 4 points to Ohio State. Jim, Logan, Will, don't go anywhere because we're going to get right back to the calls. Freddie, we're leading off with you on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Good afternoon.
Fellas, what's going on?
How you doing, Freddie?
I got a couple of things. Matt Rhule sounded kind of like he was praising losing in his press conference, and I know that he couldn't go into what he wanted to say about the officiating, so I'll just go ahead and say it for him. You guys are never going to beat Michigan State, and we're just a better program than you. Go Green.
Freddie went with a different name this week. Freddie's a diehard Michigan State fan.
So those are two people now in the last last 7 days that I know that are Michigan State fans. One happens to be related to me. Yeah, that's right. Let's go to Jim. You're up next. Big Red Overreaction. Hey, Jim. Jim? Okay. We lost Jim. Line open 402-951-1620. Logan is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Hi, Logan.
Hey, fellas. First off, before I get started, I listen every week after every game. And I don't know what's more pathetic. Freddie calling in every week to another team's call-in to brag about a team that sucks out loud, or Marcus Satterfield's play calling. So, Freddie,
poll question?
From the rest of Big Red Nation, go stuck it somewhere else, dude. One of the things I do have to say, like listening to Matt Rhule, one, I think it's funny the swing in emotion from last week. We were like, we just wanted them to be competitive. Well, then this week they're really competitive and they come up short, right? And I think that, like, when I listen to Matt Rhule and he's like, the players, they hear here we go again, blah, 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 blah. And I, for one, as a fan, I know, like, Dylan Rhule is a freshman. Like, I see these guys fighting and not giving up. I'm not upset at that. What I'm upset about, and I love Matt Rhule, like I love the culture that he's building, hear that. But what I'm upset about is the fact that every week we watch Marcus Satterfield, who, by the way, didn't have a great, like, he didn't come from a lineage of, like, or a history of showing us that he's an excellent play caller. But for him to show up every week and be the weakest link is absolutely mind-boggling. And I feel like as a fan base, we see crappy coaching over and over. It's from a coordinator perspective or special teams or whatever. And again, I'm not talking about Matt Rhule. I'm talking about Marcus Satterfield as a play caller.
Yeah.
How many times can you call a screen knowing that your wide receiver can't block? That's on
Banks
you.
Banks got a problem blocking. He's one of a few, but Banks is a problem.
Yeah, and you can't see it every stinking week and go, oh, I'm going to keep trying to run that. It's like, dude, at some point, you got to just go, all right, we know our receivers can't block. We got to figure something else out. And so what I want to hear Matt Rhule say, which he won't, is stop trying to get all over the fans about, here we go again, and that we're upset with the players, because we're not. We're upset with the fact that you're not holding your coaches accountable at this point. Because I went to the practice, the Big Red preview practice. I watched him have his coaches sprint and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Great. Now call it out in the media, because you do the same thing with the players. So do it with your offensive coordinator, who just stinks, man. He stinks. So thanks, guys, for your time. Much appreciated. Freddie, go suck it.
Thanks, Logan. I don't think he's ever going to do that directly. I think the way that you're ever going to hear any type of discourse with Marcus Satterfield is when he talks about the things that he wants to do, yet they might be doing other things, which he said. The only time you're probably going to ever hear criticism is when he has to make some type of public statement on a dismissal of a coach.
Do you think it's avoiding talking about the offensive play calling, steering the conversation away, tells you everything you need to know?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think that's something that I think he's very much aware of it. He's a smart guy. I think he's very much aware of it. And we're all watching that game, especially in the first half, and we are gnashing our teeth thinking, what the hell? I mean, Logan's right. We're watching the same thing. I was saying the same thing. Every time I would see a play get blown up on the perimeter and there'd be no blocking, you brought up a good point about just the simple mathematics behind it, but also when number 4 is there, he couldn't block anybody. Just couldn't do it. Will is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Good afternoon, Will.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Good, Will.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to touch on the screen game first, but last guy kind of covered that. So, yeah, no, I actually, goal line gets a lot of the blame, but I looked into them last week. I tried to go back and watch the game. I actually don't think they're as bad as people make them out to be. The issue this week was Satterfield. I mean, I feel like most people are going to end up hitting on it, but there's multiple plays where, so like when we got the turnover, the first 2 plays were just nothing plays. And then the third play was a good play call. That end around to Lloyd was a great play call, but that should have been the first down play to get us in better position. It just feels like he wastes plays just on nothingness that everyone knows is coming. The defense can easily see it. There was a time also in the end zone where red zone early in the first half where it was a Dowdell run to the right and the entire line blocked to the left, and we got blown up in the backfield for a 3-yard gain.
So I'm vibing with what you're saying, Will. I think on that play, that's on the running back.
Might have been.
Yeah.
I mean,
but we're on the same page for what you said before that. We're vibing together here.
Yeah. Well, and like I've seen a lot, I was scrolling Twitter, I was waiting. A lot of people are putting the end of the game on Rhule, but we didn't help him out at all. We called 2 screen passes right before that and put him in a 3rd and 19 where he felt like he had to make a throw, and then he forced a ball that obviously wasn't there and ended the game. So I just, we're close. I definitely feel a lot better this week than I did last week, and some people hate moral victories, but I do feel a lot better going forward as a program this week. It's just we have that 1 weak link, it feels like, that's just holding us back. That if we can just fix, we'll win. We'll start winning these close games, and we'll start beating ranked teams. in my opinion at least.
Yeah, appreciate it, Will. Thanks for the call. Leaves the line open 402-951-1620. My whole thing all week was if Nebraska can make Ohio State uncomfortable in this game.
Yep, you did say that.
I felt like that was a real good place to be. They made Ohio State have to come from behind and win in the fourth quarter. To say that they made Ohio State uncomfortable, I think throughout the entire game would be an understatement because they did. Now, Ohio State played out of whack. I'd be really curious to listen to that postgame press conference right now between what Ryan Day saw, the response that the home crowd was giving that team after they're watching that. They got their own stuff that they got to deal with, and they don't have a lot of time to dwell on that because they got Penn State on the road next week. My curiosity now with this team, because you said this all week, the response. It was a good response. It doesn't mean execution was what it needs to be, but it was a great response. Now I'm really interested on, I said this a few weeks ago about the mental state of this team and what certain wins and moments can do for this team. Can you use what happened today of coming up short of saying, okay, that's more like it. Now we play with that type of energy, that type of just, I think you put it in a really good way. Very free, very loose. You take care of business against UCLA, and all of a sudden you've got that heavy lifting out of the way. You got that exercise, that demon of getting to the postseason, and you've got winnable games in front of you. Can what happened today, can that feed into how you come out next week, you take care of business, and then what happens?
Process has to lead to results.
Yep.
Sooner than later.
Yep.
And there are, between the process and the results, there's the intermediate of, things that are deficiencies, whether it be in a headset or a helmet, of having talent, playmaking ability, all of those kind of things. I mean, you can only play really, really hard for so long.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to have some dudes. And then when you have the dudes, you got to have dudes that make plays to win games like today. And defense had a great response by Tony White, but Isaac Gifford had a bad day.
Yeah.
Nebraska can't afford for Isaac Gifford to have a bad day.
And there were guys that, despite Isaac Gifford, you could say, boy, they had tremendous days that maybe we didn't have circled. Jamari Butler had a fantastic day. You look at MJ Sherman, had a really good day.
There's more guys that had great days than poor days. But when you're your top end guys, you can't go to Columbus, Ohio and have a bad day.
Yeah. We are going to get to a Peerless Energy System scoreboard update here in just a moment. Let's go back to the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline and say hello to Brad. Hello, Brad. You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Yeah. Hey, guys. I'm a longtime fan. Started going to the novel section back in 62. And I do think we're on the right track. But I have the same concerns that the prior caller did about the play calling. Obviously, running those screen passes over and over was insanity because it didn't work. And then I'd be curious about what you guys think of the play calling down on the goal line. I mean, I've watched the last 3 or 4 games, and we lined up in a heavy set, try to pound it up the middle. I wonder if anyone would ever give thought to taking that play and running around the end, or maybe an option around the end and just walking.
Brad, what about a naked bootleg right there?
Yeah, a naked bootleg, anything, because every team knows we're in that heavy set.
Yeah.
We did dive over once, but time and time again, and I've seen the last few games, it just seems like we don't have any innovation at the goal line.
Yeah, and I will go a step further. I think, it's one person saying something else that they do is Nebraska wanted to get in the red zone and be the team that ran the ball into the end zone. I think when the field shrinks, the sphincter shrinks as well. And Nebraska really, like, the creativity in the red zone is not there. If that was your best 4th and 1 play, I don't know about that, because I think that was as predictable could be. I mean, I know they brought in Ty Robinson, but you knew that they were going to plow it ahead. And I don't like leaping from the 2-yard line. So I would have liked, if you're going to do that, because then you're outnumbered, you're taking an extra blocker away, Brad. I would have liked some creativity where, like, hey, a naked bootleg. I mean, does Rhule stroll into the end zone?
Probably, yeah. Well, and you saw the cutback lane on that too. I mean, if Dante Dowdell doesn't leave his feet and he cuts back to the left, he's in as well. It's very
You
frustrating.
might also consider bringing in Harburg at the last minute when they can't really adjust to him and run him around.
Yeah, and you know what was different? You remember when they scored on from the one touchdown they did score on? They went quick.
Yeah.
They allowed Ohio
Yep.
State to kind of sit back and then upstairs watch who the personnel were on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Brad, appreciate the call. Justin, Bruce, Ken, don't go anywhere. We do now have a line open, 402-951-1620 on the Jason to Contracting hotline. We will come back with a Peerless Energy Systems scoreboard update, get you caught up on everything else going on in the Big Ten and the top 25 in college football on what is going to be a very active afternoon and evening as well. Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. And also, as we mentioned, our Jason at Contracting hotline always open for you. He's Gary Sharp. I'm Nick Hanley. We're back with more of your phone calls. We'll also have a scoreboard update as we return. It's Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. Okay. Do you want to just come right out with the scoreboard thing?
Sure.
Cool. I've only had four Zach emails today, so that's actually low. Oh, the last one was great call from Logan.
Time for a scoreboard update brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems expert. Ohio State beats Nebraska 21-17. Will Howard throws for 3 touchdown passes, 221 yards, 13 of 16. Oregon is leading Illinois 21-3. Dylan Gabriel is picking apart the Illinois secondary. BYU over Central Florida 10-0. Alabama got a field goal. They're up 3-0. Some of the best news of the day. Vanderbilt is up on Texas by a score of 7-0. Ole Miss beat Oklahoma 26-14. Indiana is now 8-0. They beat Washington 31-17. And Notre Dame ends the playoff hopes of Navy. They roll 51-14. That is your scoreboard update brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air system experts.
Big Red Overreaction also brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. As we are going to get to more phone calls here again, 21-17, Ohio State victorious. Gary, the big topic that Matt Rhule, I would say, somewhat brushed over, didn't go really in on it too. And I know a lot of folks, whether it's been in the stream or what we've gotten from emails and even some of the phone calls, the officiating, just like what you saw from Nebraska and the things that ail them and continue to ail them, which shouldn't surprise you. Officiating at this point, does it really surprise you?
It's an epidemic.
It's terrible.
So we're watching. So Northwestern Iowa is on, and Northwestern just scored 7-3. There is a DPI that is called in that game that if you want to compare it to what we saw in Columbus today, I'm not even going to go there. The college football has got a problem of consistency across the board because we're going to watch multiple games from here on out, and we're going to see plays that happen that were almost exactly the same in the Nebraska game or last night in the Rutgers USC game, and they are called differently.
Yep. And
I don't know how, as a player or a coach, you just want consistency, and you're not getting that. And I mean, today turned into a gong show. You had no idea what was going on. You know, you can call holding on every play, but when it's right in front of you and it actually impacts the play, there you go. Please call it.
Yep. And even this is maybe the difference
head
today.
Coach go nuts and you don't do anything about it.
Right. Exactly. And then the other thing that maybe was a little bit different today, this is the first time where it happened multiple times where the spots had a big impact.
Yeah. You are 100% on, and this needs to be something that needs to be in the Big Ten office by the time the plane leaves the runway in Columbus. The spot in the first half where it cost Nebraska yardage and time on the clock,
almost 30 seconds,
is one of the worst things I've seen this year in college football. Now, I know that the line isn't necessarily the exact line, but if you look where the down marker was, because that's on the Nebraska sideline, and you compare where the ball carrier was, that's a first down. I think Rhule somebody upstairs should have said, whoa, in his headset. Yeah. You gotta ask him to review it. You got to do something because they are way off.
That was my gripe with that whole thing, was not only the spot, but that someone needed to communicate better, for what you just said there, but also, guys, clock's running. They're not doing anything. Clock's running. There's no sense of urgency as well.
You can't afford that when Nebraska is as poor as they are at clock management, even before that play. Yeah, you need those seconds back.
100%. Jason, the contracting hotline, 402-951-1620. We'll lead off with Justin. Good afternoon, Justin.
I think Justin is gone.
Okay. How about Bruce? Bruce, you're next on Big Red Overreaction.
Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon, Bruce.
I spent some time in Florida, and yes, Yuengling is the bomb. So there you go. Even
I don't know. I gave Gary a bad one. Apparently,
I'm fighting through it, Bruce.
I've had one that's pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I've had more than once, and they're all very good. Anyway, I think obviously a lot of complaints that are going on is the fact that we had an opportunity to win a game and we kind of let it dribble down our leg, apparently, and But all the things considered, I saw a team that I think has an opportunity to win every game they have left on their schedule, especially based on the team that I saw last week. The other thing I think that just bothered me is on the run game, and based on the experience of the last number of games we've had, we get the ball at the 5-yard line, first and goal. Why are you not bringing Harburg in? I mean, if you want to say, well, we're going to run the ball in, we're going to run the ball in, but he gives you that additional option. I think that makes a huge difference to what the defense does. Harburg can still throw the ball in the end zone if that's what you end up wanting to do to it, but it just to me seems, and it's not a detriment to what Dylan can do. It's just that our consistency over the last number of weeks have been, we can't, with him in the game for whatever reason, we can't just go into I and run the ball into the end zone consistently enough. So that's just, I mean, again, like I said, this team, I think that can win, that has the opportunity to win their remaining games. Obviously there has to be something done a little bit different on the offense. Whether it's play calling or whatever you want to do, this team's fair just drives me nuts. But my family's been season ticket holders since the early '60s, and it's just I've been listening to your program since Bob Bruce used to be on. So you listen to.
You are a diehard. You are a lifetime P1er, Bruce.
Yeah.
There you go. Unfortunately, calling you guys is a little bit like banging your head against the wall when you get done, but every once in a while you have to release that those endorphins, I guess. So anyway, I think that all things considered, people should be encouraged for what they saw in the game today.
Mm-hmm.
It is disappointing, obviously, and that's kind of what Rhule's message was. This team played hard. This is not the team that played last week. So we're really, really glad to see that. And, everybody was sitting here expecting this game to be 42-10 and would have been happy with that kind of score, I think, as well, of all things considered. But anyway, hey, good effort, you guys, and appreciate you guys being there and listening. Standing there and listening, and I'm sure the yingling does help. So there you go.
It does. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it. I think we obviously, when you look at the 3 field goals, that was a positive development with what has been a really bad moment. Special teams with the disastrous start. And I mean, Gary, the way this game started, everybody that was entertaining the score that I think a lot of us probably had predicted thought, okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. And this is where I give Tony White and I give that defense so much credit. And I go back to the Colorado game. When you knew that this was going to, at least on one side of the football, and especially that night against Colorado, where we might have had a different view of the Nebraska team than what we do today, it was the defense again in that moment, in that the start to that game that set the tone. This thing could have gotten off the rails so fast, and what the defense did right out of the gate to set the tone. At least you could breathe a little bit thinking, all right, this may not last, but what the defense has done to set the tone was huge. And that's a positive. The field goal kicking was a positive. I will continue to hammer this. If we would have said 21-17, I think most of us would have expected there's going to be a little bit better execution in certain areas offensively, even to the tune of 17 points, which wasn't the case. But can't we also say, isn't that a bit of a positive that you really didn't execute all that great offensively? Running the ball was more of a factor today, and you still were right there against one of the best talented teams in the college football.
Yeah, I can't play moral victory here. I mean, it was there to go win a football game, and they didn't go and win a football game. I'm sure in the offseason you can sit and go, man, made some progress, went to Columbus and kept it close. I don't know. I think the part of me would be very frustrating because it was there for Nebraska to take today, and they can't get from the process leading to the result for whatever it is when it's nut cutting time. And I know, and I might be an island here by myself, but I think I'm reflecting people that are playing the game, that were playing the game today. I don't want to hear that, man, that was hell of an effort, guys. Good job. I don't want to see my fans clapping as I come off the field. I'd be angry because it shows you what you can and can't do as a football team right now, where your ceiling and your floor kind of in that game. I keep going back to something. This is how I look at today's game. And Nebraska had some guys that are ready for prime time that showed up today, but they also have multiple players and coaches who, when you play a team like this and you have an opportunity to seize the opportunity, you get exposed. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the bottom line. They're just not ready to play against top teams. There are some guys on this roster, they look like they fit in playing against top teams and they're comfortable and they live to the moment. That's the bottom line of this football program.
Let's go back to the Jay Stinnett contracting hotline and welcome in Ken. Ken, you're on Big Red Overreaction.
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Good, Ken.
You know what? I can honestly say that I'm the only sober one who's probably calling because I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I've been sober since May 1st.
Hey, congratulations.
So I've got that going for me.
Yeah.
So you know what? There's a couple things that I want to touch upon. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to just state where I'm coming from, and then you tell me if I'm a total spaz or if I'm
I haven't heard the word spaz in a long time.
Ball.
Okay.
Number one, officiating. I truly believe Rhule has to just speak up. Say, officiating sucks. And if it continues, send in a third stringer and take out a ref who made it
Jesus,
that call.
Ken.
And if he does it again, take
Christmas.
out another ref.
Wow.
All right. That's number one. And you know what? I think that will send the message.
Jesus.
Number two.
Sober Ken has chosen violence.
Green gravy. Can Rhule not hit a wide open guy? He missed a wide open guy at Illinois or against Illinois, and he did it again today. Had he connected, it would have been a touchdown. And number 3, I think every single player on the offensive side of the ball owes the defensive guys a car wash, a car detail, a dinner for the week, because they didn't step up. You cannot not make a touchdown at 1 yard away from the goal line. So I'm going to hang up. I'm going to listen to you guys. Give me about 2 seconds so I can turn on my radio again.
All
so
right.
I can listen to you.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Take out a ref? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Here's the okay. Here.
Didn't have that on the bingo card.
Again, as we work through this game, there's the frustration of there was about one series, maybe a series and a half, where Nebraska executed and they started to stack plays, and then my God, there were some pet plays that were used. 20-yard completion, 20-yard run, a 33-yard completion, where they were in rhythm, where guys were just doing their job. The problem on offense is they can't get 11 guys to do their job consistently, and then when they do, you go, hey, look what it can be.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm looking at the big picture of the entire game, and they just did not have enough consistency where guys that should flash for 60 minutes flash for about 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And those 20 minutes that you have the football where you don't show up or you go, you're making plays where like, we don't teach that. We don't coach that. And like, we can't get out of our own way. And that's really what you see on offense is they will show you something, but they need like everybody from the booth to the field to be in sync for something to go right on offense.
Yeah.
They don't have enough guys where that guys just simply go out and make plays. Okay. They make a play and you're a difference maker and you have no idea what the play call was because that guy is really, really good. It's kind of like the Trey Palmer effect. Okay. Some of the play calling by Whipple sucked, but Trey Palmer was so good. Trey Palmer made a play. And so you didn't focus on the play call. You focused on the player.
100%.
And that's the opposite of what Nebraska for the majority of games has on offense.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you have, we'll use a lot of the horizontal passing game, for instance. If you have a guy that all of a sudden sheds through 2 tacklers that are right there at the point of engagement when he catches the ball, and he busts that for a long run, how much are we really dwelling on the play itself or even the breakdown in perimeter blocking as much as we are just, it was a big play. There are moments in this game. You brought up something about, and I agree with you about when this offense is at its best, it seems like it's a little bit more in tempo. And when we've seen that is usually right before halftime. Up until you run into that horrible spot, Nebraska offensively was moving it again. Then they start doing it again in the fourth quarter where you get these spots of being able to stack, like you said, good play, a good running play. Then you get maybe 2 good running plays. All of a sudden, Ohio State defensively is on their heels. Then you get into a situation where you bring Heinrich Harburg in. If Nate Borkature, who I want to give Nate Borkature a little bit of defense. Nate Borkature, who misses that block.
What's his last name?
Borkature.
Are we sure?
Not Bo Ricker.
Thank you.
But on that one, corner probably makes a better play than the fact that he misses that block. But if there's contact and he at least is able to seal him off, that's a touchdown. There are moments in this game, and hey, Dylan Rhule being able to throw the ball into a bucket, being able to get that one to Jamal Banks. To your point about that consistency, but also that margin for error, that played out in this game so many times. It just did. And then play calling as well. So many things where you hear the explanation, even from the head coach of, well, for 4th and goal at the 1 as opposed to 4th and 2, it might be a different play. Okay, but that was the play. That was where the ball was spotted. Whether it should have been spotted closer or not, that's where it was spotted. You have the ability to get out of that play, then get out of that play. You have the ability to get out of that personnel package, get out of that personnel package. Yeah. That was such an important part of the game to be able to score in that moment, and you don't do it. So this is where, again, that operation is still so out of whack in moments like that.
Here is Jim. Hello, Jim. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction.
Well, good afternoon, guys. I wish we had won the game, but we didn't. My comment is that I would like to understand why Satterfield is on the flight home instead of taking a commercial flight because, to be quite honest with you, he cost us this game. And the thing that's most apparent to me is that you have our receivers who cannot block on a dink and dunk pass. Then why don't we just have our receivers do a fly down the sideline? Because they're going to have a pancake block in effect. They take the guy right out of the play, and if their guy doesn't cover them, then they're going to be wide open, and we come back to that play later on for a touchdown. And in fact, you could even have Dylan throw the ball a pop fly because they'd be that wide open. But other than that, our defense played stellar, and I'm just pretty fed up with seeing our offense keep doing the same things over and over again that do not work, and then trying to expect them to work again. How many times did we throw a dink and dunk pass for a loss? I don't think we had one that we had one, I believe, that made a 10-yard gain. Other than that, guys, you have a great show, and I'll listen to you later on. Take care.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. It's one thing when we're all seeing the same thing over and over again with the perimeter game, and then you're even – I mean, this is where you always understand that, okay, it's not just us maybe being too hard on the offense, and our eyes are telling us what we feel pretty confident in. But even a guy that I think you and I both respect his view of the game of football, and Joel Klatt, even as early as I think one of the first drives of the second quarter, is saying it's time to go vertical. Mm-hmm. It's time to go vertical. You at some point you got to challenge them. You got to see what. Remember, this was an Ohio State secondary that had some big problems against Oregon. I'm not trying to say Nebraska's receivers are like Oregon, but you want to test their confidence at some point. See where they are. See if they don't make a play on a 50-50 ball. What does that do for their confidence? What does that do for your offensive confidence too? What does that do for your young quarterback as well? There's a lot there to that I hear everyone's frustration on it.
Did you guys think somebody else was calling the plays in the second half, beginning with the third quarter?
Where it actually did seem like there was a little bit of a feel for it?
Or do you think that was discussed in the locker room at halftime?
My guess is it would have been discussed in the locker room.
Okay.
I'd be curious, though, to know that. But I would say it was probably discussed.
You script the beginning of the game. Mm-hmm. You don't really script the beginning of a half. That almost looked like a scripted series by Nebraska, where that stuff they've repped and is successful, and that's what we're going to run.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder where the igniter of let's do this came from.
Yeah, that's a good question right there. Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair and No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Before we get to the top of the hour, let's get some more phone calls on the Jason into Contracting Hotline. And Brad, good afternoon. You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Hey, good to talk to you. This is a different kind of day for me. I was out in North Platte for a wedding yesterday, so I was driving back during the game, and I haven't listened to the Husker broadcast for a long time. And really interesting. Damon was colorfully calling all the no calls and the bad calls, and just got me thinking when I got home about the what if because they contributed, right? Not to mention also our missed opportunities.
Sure.
I hate field goals. I freaking hate field goals. We got to get touchdowns. But, and as has been mentioned already, when you're first and goal from the 5, if you can't score there, you got some problems. But anyway, altogether, I was just thinking, okay, so what if Ohio State would have lost? They would have been sitting in a really bad position and probably in a position where they would lose out on the playoffs. And I don't want to go conspiracy theory, but doggone it, we've seen it for however long we've been in the Big Ten, 13 years. Holding is never called, and OPI is never called on anybody. So I think it's all freaking suspect, and I'm tired of it, really tired of it. But anyway, that's all.
Appreciate it, Brad.
Brad, thanks. Imagine what it would have been like around here if they would have overturned that targeting call, which I thought the longer they went, they were going to.
I did too. In fact, I actually expected it. I thought that was a given. Let's go to Mike. Mike is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Hi, Mike.
Hey, I'm up. All right. So I just have like a comment, a little bit of a question myself. I know a lot of people say they're not really big into moral victories or whatever. And I'm not really a moral victory guy myself either. But I thought the players did pretty good despite what everybody says about Satterfield. I mean, it's got to play into your mindset a little bit. Because I know if you think about it from like a job perspective, and you work in a crew, basically, whether it's, in a restaurant, construction, if you have your job foreman, whoever it is, trying to tell you guys to do the job in a way that is less efficient than you guys can work, it starts to weigh on you. You know what I mean? You're like, well, why is this guy our boss? We know how to do the job this way. He keeps on putting us in a position to get the job done later than it should be. We have to stay here later than we should be. So my question is, do you think the players are starting to feel kind of like the fans are, to where like, why is this guy our boss? Why is he calling these plays? We see something that we think we could take advantage of, but he's not giving us the opportunity to. And if you think stuff like that does happen, and these players are thinking that, what level do you think, Rhule would listen to their input to where he finally says, you know what, enough is enough. The way Satterfield's calling games is starting to wear on our players. We got to get rid of the guy. So that's all I got. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Today was about taking pride in your job. I mean, got your butt kicked the week before. Do your job, but take pride in your job of what you're asked to do. You want to go down the path of what Mike asked. Do players believe that their offensive coordinator trusts them? And I'm not sitting here making a case for Satterfield, but I'm taking kind of Mike's question and turning it into what I think is a nice little discussion. And then, no player is going to say, unless they already know the OC is out the door, they're going to say, that guy didn't trust me, man.
Yeah.
He won't let me run down the field. I can track a ball. I can track a ball better than anybody else.
Yeah. See, that's the oddity of it is for some reason he trusts certain guys to be able to finally have a click when it comes to perimeter blocking.
Do people think this? Are play calls being called for the play caller or the players? This is going to be a weird answer to that. It could actually be for the players for what you just laid out for lack of trust. I want to shelter them from not making the big play. And I'm talking about 15 here too. We're trying to take the chance where I think if you ask Dylan, be like, hey man, you want to let it rip? Yeah, I do. Let's let it rip then. As opposed to let's keep trying to do the death by 1,000 cuts, the dink and dunk down the field when you clearly know that is not going to be executed. But isn't today everything we already know? I mean, like, was there anything that crept up? And I'm not pushing back on you. Yeah. I'm just, you and I have talked about this in the mornings. Was there really anything new that we discovered today?
No, and I think the front
you kind of by this time, I truly believe that in the game of college football, which is week to week, which is fabulous about the sport, that Nebraska can get beat by 49 by an unbeaten team, and then the next week come back and they're in a one-score game with a top 5 team that probably still is wondering, wow, outside of our emotional get up for Oregon, how consistent, how good are we?
Yep.
That's what I love about college football. Is it's there's a deep dive into this, but I truly believe by the time in college football, when you get to the 8th game, you are who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm not going to say, man, Nebraska made a lot of progress today. I think Nebraska is the same team they've been all season long. They just have to play with pride and do your job and focus, and they still have deficiencies. But if they do that, they're a lot better than a 5-7 football team. They might not much be better than a 7-5 team.
Mm-hmm. And I think the most frustrating part of why everybody is hammering on the same points that they were a week ago, and it's that much more frustrating.
It's a close game.
It's a close game against a very good team.
Exposed.
And we know what the tone would have been like if you're on the other end of this game, if you're able to hold off Ohio State, or you're able to get that last drive and Dylan throws a dime and you get that difference. It's another close loss. It's another, we're being told that this was a good step in the right direction. Unfortunately, that's fallen on deaf ears, and I understand that because of 2021, sorry. We saw that all the time. Last time we saw Nebraska go toe-to-toe with Ohio State, we were talking about this all week, the JoJo Doman game. That was in 2021. That was a 3-win team. So, cool. you did better than you did a week ago against Ohio State, but what is that going to look like? Is that enough if you can do what you did today to get bowl eligible, to maybe get to 7 wins with the remaining 3 after UCLA as well? All of that is still up for grabs. All of that is still remains to be answered right now too.
I don't know. Maybe you get bowl eligible, you take the monkey off your back, and then you can look at the big picture.
Yeah, that's a good call right there.
Because that thing not being bowl eligible hangs over this program.
100%.
Because that would make Rhule is now 0 for 6 when he's had the opportunity to become bowl eligible.
Yep. Take one more call before we hit a break. Let's go to Mark. Good afternoon, Mark. You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Where are you at, Mark?
I am at actually Omaha Fish and Wildlife, and I'm judging a Halloween costume contest right now.
This should be a first. Okay.
All right.
How are the
awesome.
how are the collection of costumes? What age are we talking here?
Awesome.
Okay. Is this
They are
adult or
awesome.
kids?
Well, right now we're judging 0 to 5 years old.
Okay.
There's
Cuteness.
2 little kids dressed in dinosaur things in a cart that says danger. Looks like a little cage, like they've got 2 caged dinosaurs. Really cute.
Love it.
And I
So
love that
awesome.
you picked up the phone while you're doing this to call us.
Yeah, that shows your commitment, my man.
I've been on hold long enough. My comment was
Touche.
great effort by today's team. Different team than last week. Oh my gosh, night and day. But our first 2 plays, our kickoff and our first run, we fumbled it. Out of our first 2 plays, we fumbled it twice. Is that coaching? What is that? I mean, our kickoff returns, I think, have really lacked. It's just terrible. We come right out of the gate and we fumble it, and we put ourselves right at the 10-yard line again, second week in a row to start off. Just I don't understand it. I don't get it. We don't practice that. What is the deal there? And it still seems like our defense is totally outshining our offense. That's all I got. I'll listen now. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Mark. I'm going to start the kickoff because the low-hanging fruit, well, last week we know what it was. What it's been all season long has been Ed Foley, has been special teams. I'm still putting that on the player.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm putting
there's no way in God's green earth that they are taught. And Quentin Ives was new back there.
Right.
That Quentin Ives is taught to track a ball like that.
Right.
Now, if I'm wrong, then that's a fireable offense if you're in charge of that.
Yeah.
If you're allowing that to happen, I just can't believe they would. So I put that on the player.
Yeah.
But again, there's also the coaching part of it. Is if you are not comfortable with someone doing the basics of returning a kickoff like that, then don't put them back there. You got a roster of 73 other guys that are on the trip. Hell, put Rhule back there. Hell, put Harburg back there. Everybody wants Harburg on the field all the time. But you're absolutely right, Nick. I'm with you. That one I'm not putting on the tab of Foley. Now, what Ken failed to mention as well is then you culminate that drive, the beginning of the game where Dowdell slips and then Dillon gets sacked. Buschini had a terrible punt.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
but we probably got a little inkling of the defense answer their defensive coordinator, because what did they do? They stopped Ohio State on 4th and 1 on Ohio State's first drive when they had great field position.
Yeah, that thing looked like it had disaster from the get-go, and Ohio State having the short field to start out, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really, really bad fast. Big Red Overreaction is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, and brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. We'll get you a Peerless Energy System scoreboard update coming up in our final hour. Just a reminder, we're going to be leading you right up to the Blue Jay shoot-around exhibition game between Creighton and Purdue coming your way right here on 1620 The Zone. So we will be bringing you up to 5 o'clock. So we got one more hour. D. Jones, Wade, don't go anywhere. We got a line open at 402-951-1620 on the J. Stinnett Contracting Hotline. You're listening to Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg.
All right, time for a scoreboard update after Ohio State beats Nebraska 21-17. Top 25, Oregon is rolling today, 28-3 over Illinois. Dylan Gabriel in the first half has thrown for 203. BYU at Central Florida trying to stay unbeaten, 24-10 near the end of the first half. Alabama is shutting out Mizzou 13-0. Texas has scored. They've gone up on Vanderbilt 14-7 in the Big Ten. Elsewhere today, Indiana remains unbeaten. They win by a score of 31-17. If you missed it last night, USC beat Rutgers 42-20. Minnesota near halftime. Man, the Gophers have gotten better. They're up 31-3 on Maryland, and they've just gone to halftime, scintillating in Iowa City. Iowa behind Cade McNamara, 7 of 13, 73 yards passing, benched for former Northwestern quarterback Brendan Sullivan. Iowa leads Northwestern 12-7. Yes, that game does include a safety. That is the scoreboard, brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems expert. I want to read an email here, Nick, and I'll let you respond. I think I might have lost it. Hold on here. Okay, this is from Brad. So if people are just tuning in, it was a little bit of a big picture presser.
Yep.
I wonder if we have big picture changes once Nebraska gets bowl eligible, because I'm here to tell you, I think right now that thing about not being bowl eligible and just get to 6 is hanging over this program. And once they get there, what do they look like?
Yep.
Like, do they go, oh? But Brad brings up an interesting point, I think, listening and seeing the press conference. Because I was big on, I wanted to see what Rhule, like body language, when he went into the big picture type thing and kind of steered away from some of the things that went on during the game. Have you noticed Rhule looks like he's getting worn down, kind of like watching on YouTube, and seems like he's kind of slowing down. Maybe you can have somebody ask him if he's okay. Don't know if anybody ever thinks about that. He looks like a coach who's coaching at Nebraska, that when you have games like 56-7 and you have to all week be in the middle of it. We've seen this do it to coaches. It's not for everyone here. Rhule's trying to navigate it for the first time, where this past week people question him, question his decision-making, question people that he'd hired. That's new, because up to that, last Friday before Indiana, everything was like, man, Rhule is the guy. Love the process. Here we go. 56-7 happens, and people are like, I don't know if Rhule's the right guy. So you are dealing with that for the first time, when up to that point, everything was like, hey, I'm great. I could walk into the aisles and, man, have a beer. People say, sit down. I tried to walk into aisles last Monday night, and they were like, nah, we're closed. And you go, but there's people. So I think there's just the reality of trying to get better, and then the process which you stick to, not leading to results and not getting to 6. I truly believe that not being bowl eligible and fighting to get there, just program, and maybe it happens next Saturday, and then you see a team that will go into a bye week and they go, woo!
Yep.
And you never know what's going to happen in the final 3 games.
And that's
just my read on it.
Agree.
I don't know anything for fact that, he's not feeling well or anything like that, but it's a good question, Brad.
No, I think that's to take that a step further, because I totally agree with what you just said there. To take it a step further is, I feel like Matt Rhule has always tried to be the other guy, the guy that can come in, that can handle that type of pressure, that can handle that type of criticism when it does come nut cutting time, or if you do have that embarrassment like they did a week ago, that he's always going to be able to handle that moment better than people who even maybe should know better, like the previous head coach who played here and understands that environment a little bit, who didn't handle it very well. I think he's always prided himself on that, but I think he also realized, oh, damn. Oh, that's what it's like. This is how it goes.
Don't you think he's also trying not to show disappointment in his football team?
Yeah.
That his football team should be better than they are. Even today.
Okay.
Even should be better. Like last week, they let him down.
Yep.
Okay. So he's like, did I let them down? Well, maybe I did let them down. Now this week, I think you're looking at a guy that is disappointed on where his football team is right now, and publicly is not going to go there. That's just me reading, but I think he thinks they should be better in the operation than they are right now. Hey, 5-3, but man, he's probably going, we should be better than 5-3.
Okay, again, agree. You brought this up about a month ago on the morning show about how he just kind of looks agitated. And which I agree, my diagnosis was exactly what you said right there, even back then. Even in, the loss to Illinois, but also he was proud that they beat Purdue. We saw the chasing three. He was pumped. That was the whole, I'm going to always fight for Nebraska. That was great, but he knew they should have played better in that game against Rutgers. Hey, they won a close game. Okay, but still, there are a lot of things that I think he clearly is seeing in practice, and I think there's things that he saw all the way back to spring ball and fall camp that are not jiving on Saturdays. And what was one of the big problems with the last head coach saying every week was the greatest practice, and for whatever reason, it's not happening on Saturdays. I think there's a tinge of that, and I think it's really frustrating to him. And I think you start to slowly but surely start to hear people maybe second-guessing some of the decisions you've made with staff, and now that is getting to a fever pitch right now with your offensive coordinator.
Oh, his guy,
and
the
guy
that's in his circle of trust is getting crushed.
Yep, and that's wearing on you because you're supposed to look out what's best for the football program, but you've got your guy as well. Yeah. You're in that conflict right there. That is a conflict right there, without question. All right, back to the Jason into Contracting Hotline, 951-1620. Let's lead off with Wade. Hey, Wade.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good, Wade. How you doing?
I'm well. I appreciate the show and y'all taking your time for all of us out here to
Wade,
vent.
Wade, you calling from Boston?
I'm calling from Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh,
nice.
Dang, sorry, I missed the accent.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, I don't. I'm not saying that we lost the game because of the officials, but one thing I've noticed across the board, especially in the Big Ten, is that the officials are just freaking incompetent as hell, grossly incompetent. And I mean, it's to the point these guys are going to have to start putting on disguises to get out of stadiums because people are going to be looking to throw rocks at them on the way out the door. I'm extremely happy for John Hull and his field goal kicking. It wasn't only important in keeping us in the game, it's got to be a monumentally huge boost to his confidence moving forward.
Especially on the road, especially on the road like that too.
Yeah, and we're probably going to need him because I don't think we're going to blow anybody out. Speaking of the special teams, I'm sure Foley's probably. Well, he's probably not feeling like his ass is literally on fire anymore, just smoldering now. So it was nice to see an improvement in the special teams, though, especially with those made field goals. I kind of wish we had kicked that fourth field goal to make it 14-12, but I understand trying to punch it in the end zone. You're on the road against the number 4 team in the country, too. As far as our receivers go, what's happened to our downfield passing game? I mean, we don't have one anymore. And I thought Banks and Nayor, and if those guys aren't doing it, I thought, after watching Lloyd score 4 touchdowns on bombs last year, that he might be a threat, but that hadn't come to fruition either. It was good to see some semblance of a run game return, though. And even though I hate we lost the game, I'm not moral victories, no, but taking this Ohio State team to the brink as a 26-point dog, well, that just makes last week's game even all the more perplexing. How we've lost 56-7
Thank you,
to
Wade.
Indiana.
Yeah.
And so my question is, can we play like this for the final 4 games overall? Maybe with hopefully a little better on offense. If so, I can see 8-4. If not, 6-6 or 7-5 at best. If we're going to be Jekyll and Hyde over the last 4 games. And then as far as Marcus Satterfield goes, we apparently have a buttload of fans who are more qualified than he is that we should be paying $1.4 million or whatever it is to one of those guys since they've got all the answers. There's one thing to question the play calling, and that's okay, but calling for the guy to get fired in the middle of year 2 of a rebuild, and make no mistake, this is still a rebuild. Come on, it's not going to happen. That's not happening. And the last thing I want to say is a shout out to Dave Fight, who posted an article on Husker Max on how to sync up the radio broadcast with the TV coverage, because I can't stand that clown Gus Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to hear Bo Richter one more time, of course he wasn't involved in the game, but Gus has got to go. But now that I know how to do this, and it make it work, I'm going to do it for every single game moving forward, because it's way more enjoyable to listen to our guys than the biased announcers that we always get. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Hey, Wade, thanks for the phone call.
Yeah.
And shout out to Dave Fight. That's true.
Yeah.
The radio broadcast, much better than any TV broadcast with Greg and Damon. I feel like I'm being cheated on because every time I hear Damon go, Sharpie.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, he first called me that. I
Called you
feel-
that too.
feel
I
very
think
bad.
even a few times I've heard G Sharp. Did he call you G Sharp?
Yeah, he
Okay,
hadn't
yeah.
made the mistake in a while of calling Greg Gary on air.
Yeah. He mentioned John Holt again, 39, 54, and 47-yard field goals on the road. One thing about the John Holt and Gus Johnson relation here to that whole those moments, John Holt gave him Gus-gasms. I mean, there were legitimate Gus-gasms from John Holt, especially on the 54-yarders. So I know sometimes the Gus-gasms are hard to take, but remember we said last week, when it's your team that's winning, you can accept them. When they're losing, they're very, very obnoxious.
One in the hole is not good for the soul, but 3 is pretty good. Kept you in the football game today.
Let's go back to the Jason and Contracting hotline at 402-951-1620. D. Jones has been waiting patiently. Hey, D. Jones, you're on Big Red Overreaction.
How y'all fellas doing?
Good, man.
Good. So, I'm not calling for Satterfield to lose his job or anything like that, but I wonder if I might, be able to take over for one series and call the play, right? So look, Hartzog gets the interception. We go down to the 1. So here's what I'm calling, right? I'm bringing in all the big uglies. I don't mind the defensive guys coming in as long as he gets on the line, get out the backfield. I'm calling in all the big uglies, and I'm calling in my fullback, and I'm calling in Heinrich. We talking QB sneak 4 times. Do I get in, and can I get a paycheck for one series? That's one question. And then 2, what's the word on the street at the Creighton game tonight? Are they going to let the starters play? Is this going to be worth going down there? I know the tickets are cheaper, but I'm thinking about going to check it out. Appreciate you guys, man.
D. Jones, I would
roll for a
say,
while.
I say Kalkbrenner gives you maybe 17 to 22 minutes tonight.
Yeah, they'll let him run for a little bit. You'll see some guys in early, late first half, then probably majority of second half. But yeah, you'll get a good little sneak peek against one of the better teams in the Big Ten. So yeah, it'd be worth it. It'll be fun.
I want to read an email going back to something that our man from Jackson, Mississippi brought up. And Aaron emailed me. And this is, again, I hope that the entire video crew for Nebraska has already put together the package they send off to Chicago to the officials. The marking of the spot on first down that would have been a first down is about as egregious as you can imagine. And then they almost doubled down and had more egregious calls as the game went on.
Well, the OPI that followed it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
So Aaron says the pass interference on Hartzog happened and he's right here, and I'm pretty sure the math is right, happened around the 35. They put the ball at the 43. The official said spot foul.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the next player, too, they went the distance, so it may not have mattered, but that was horrible. That's from Aaron and Papillion.
This is where, as bad of officiating as we've seen all year, this is the one game that I can remember where I could say they had major issues finding the right spot, getting the correct spot on. That's a great example right there, but also of the yard to gain and where either the line judge or whoever was spotting found it. And I mean, something as simple as getting the ball down to the 1 yard line in a very key moment, as opposed to where they eventually spotted it was just shy of the 2. I'm not making excuses because we don't know what happens on that play, but this is a situation when you're Nebraska, that margin for error is so slim. You don't need that type of challenge on top of it, but also Ohio State is good enough to where they also don't need any type of extra help. But I think, and we saw Ryan Day's frustration, I think by the letter of the law when it came to that targeting, and no one was talking about the forearm shiver that was going right to the head.
I thought they were going to overturn that.
I did too.
I did not think I immediately tweeted out targeting.
Yep.
And then I thought, wow, they're going to overturn this, and they didn't. But then I got to go back and look at this. Did they give Nebraska the full yardage on?
See, I don't
because it
think they did.
It was that was a hell of a catch by Banks, by the way. And then weren't there 2 penalties?
There were supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I thought they should have been at
That was in my transition when I'm
midfield.
coming from the car, coming
Yeah.
inside. So
And Joey and I were confused on that too, because we thought they'd have it at either midfield or in Ohio State territory. Yet I think they're at the 46 of
they
Nebraska.
were at the 46. That's correct.
Yeah. So that didn't make any sense to me. All right, back to the phone line. Let's welcome in Andy to Big Red Overreaction. Hey, Andy.
Hey, gentlemen, how you doing today? Thanks for taking my call.
Good, Andy. Thanks for calling.
Of course, two things. It's we were one possession away from beating the Ohio State and the Horseshoe. Unacceptable. They all should be pissed. No participation trophies for that.
Attaboy,
But
Andy.
here's my question for y'all. I'd love to get your thoughts. And it was I briefly heard it on your show last week. Curious to know, at the end of the season, Dylan and Papa Dom walk into Rhule's office and says, you know what? Hey, we're just not feeling it with Satterfield. He's not putting I or the offense in a great position. You all need to make a decision. It's either going to be him or us, or we're going to walk away. How much power do you think the Rayolas have in something like that, in kind of the new business world that we have in college football?
They will have a loud voice, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
As loud a voice as well as recruits.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point right there. And Andy, I would say this. I would add on top of this. We're all seeing the same thing that Matt Rhule's seeing. If it came to Dom and Dylan coming into his office and expressing their frustration, I think you got a serious judgment problem with your head coach. Just being honest.
I think, and I see where you're going. I mean, I think in this offense, it's a weird offense where last year the offense rolled smoother because you had an extra element of legs in the backfield and you had less options.
Yeah, you're limited.
This year you have a lot of different options that when maybe thinking on your feet, critical thinking is not your strength, it can hamper you a little bit. Nebraska has a really weird identity on offense where they're trying to be pro style with a power running game. And they don't have the full complement of personnel or creativity to blend those together. So essentially they're a crapshoot right now.
Yep.
And it looks like sometimes you're calling plays but not watching the game.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but back to the recruiting part of it is like trying to recruit to this offense. You can't just say, hey, we got this quarterback.
Right.
I mean, guys are going to go,
how am I going to be
hey,
used?
what's my role in this offense?
Mm-hmm.
But they got to be better at running back. They got running backs that are they going to make you miss? Are they going to make a defensive back miss? Are they going to make you miss in space?
Yep.
Are they going to have vision to see a hole? Nebraska just has okay running. I'm not going to say A. I'm going to say okay running backs. And then they don't have a bunch of road graders who are better at pass pro. They're in a weird spot on offense where the one area where you can't be deficient is the guy that's in the booth.
Yep.
That guy has to be better than anybody on offense. And the ability to be creative and think ahead and put guys in the best position just doesn't stack up from series to series. And so you have what you have on offense where it doesn't always run smoothly. And then when you get on a heater, like the one touchdown drive, you go, Jesus, that looks pretty good.
Yeah. There have been times this season where you can see the creativity of a certain play and be like, damn, that's kind of cool. Kind of like that. Kind of like where they actually even put that in this series. But the inconsistency, I don't know if you want to call it stubborn, being overly creative, overthinking it. I don't know.
I just think when you are a play caller and you can't simply run the ball between the tackles, what is plan B?
Yep.
You know, because if you could run the ball, if Nebraska simply could run the ball between the tackles consistently,
oh my gosh,
it would open up a lot of stuff.
Play action.
But then we have to get into a deeper discussion about man beaters on the outside. And it's just, there's a lot of inconsistency that goes on offense about people not doing their job from play to play.
Yeah.
And then again, that guy in the booth then has to be better than y'all. Okay. He has to be where he's able to think and dial things up where you can kind of cloud over some of those things that ail you. Because Nebraska has a lot of warts on offense.
Yeah.
I mean, then you go, wow, should we just be simple?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, should we just be simple? Should we just say we don't want to be everything? Let's major in the major. You know what? If we're going to be a power running game, let's commit to being a power running game. But we got this quarterback who likes to be a pro style, and that's what we're trying to
Yep.
See where you're at.
Yeah. What's your identity? And do you, first of all, are you putting the guys that you currently have in the right position, but also do you have the right guys on the field that need to put you in the position to be successful and take that offense to the next step? It's a constant merry-go-round of thought of, okay, it's on him, but what is he doing when it comes to personnel? Now when you talk about the players, what are they doing when they have a chance, when they win a one-on-one, and are they making the play? Are they executing? And it's a conversation that completely just spins around and around and around, and it's very maddening.
Well, that's the merry-go-round, and you said margin of error. So when you are in a friggin' crapshoot of how do we start stacking plays, when you get that big play, like Banks comes free down the sideline.
Yeah. Yes,
Dylan's got to hit that.
Exactly. Just like when
got to hit that. I mean, there's no excuse there. You can't say, well, Dylan's got a bum ankle. Where are you at, by the way?
Yeah.
He looked pretty good in the first half on a bad ankle.
Running around there.
Okay.
Yep.
That's no excuse. You got to make that play. That just shows you how small the margin of error is with Nebraska on offense.
Yep, absolutely. I got one line open on the Jason Contracting hotline at 402-951-1620. Back to the phone lines. Larry is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Hey, Larry.
Hey, guys, total speculation. But I go back to what Wade said a bit ago, which is the deep ball. And we heard it throughout spring and practice. Jalen, was beating guys down the field, and Dylan was connecting with them. And we saw it in the spring game, and it's just gone away. And I wonder if you saw the reaction of Dylan when he had his shoulder hit in the second half.
Yep.
And everybody thought, oh, what happened? But then you go back and look at the replay, and it was just a touch. I wonder if there's something there, because how many deep balls do we even see, and how far downfield has Dylan thrown? Is there something there?
I don't know, Larry. I thought the same thing, that when they showed the replay, we were going to see. I didn't think he went down on the play, but I thought maybe there was going to be a little bit more of a tough, major impact on his shoulder that would have led you to believe, oh, okay, that's not good. But you're right. It was minor impact, but with the shoulder, and if it was in the joint area, which I know that was the sideline report, if it just got him in the wrong spot, you get the stinger feeling. It could maybe trigger something, maybe briefly, that maybe his arm kind of goes numb a little bit, but then he's able to work through it. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I want to speculate that there's been a shoulder issue the whole year.
Well,
I understand what you're saying, though.
But Larry, so I think I know where you're going here. So this kind of goes back to he got hit pretty hard. What, it was overtime against Illinois on that shoulder?
Yes.
And that's what, a month ago?
Mm-hmm.
Over a month ago. Larry, thanks for the call.
Yeah, appreciate it, Larry. Yeah, we've had the ankle that's been brought up.
I mean, listen, you're 8 games in, and you've taken some hits, whether it be your fault or not. You're going to be dinged up. It was nice to see him take the easy play over the hard play when it came to running the football.
Mm-hmm.
He chose his spots correctly. I don't think you want him doing that all the time. And I don't, he's not a speed burner, but I think he's a smart runner when he gets out. I think he's got eight games of wear and tear where, there's only one game where, maybe a game and a half where he's been able to not play much in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's just welcome to college football, man.
Mm-hmm. And you're getting hit, and you knew that was going to be the case. And how does your body respond to that? But I mean, that's all part of it.
But this may come out at the end of the year, as that's why Nebraska's deep vertical game started to be dialed back. One, not able to complete the deep ball because of an ailment.
Yeah.
I mean, those are kind of things that come out in December and January.
Yeah.
And then then get addressed in February right before spring ball and go, Dylan had a little cleanup. I'm just, a little hypothetical. That's kind of these scenarios.
I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to Andy, Jim, Jack. We do have a line open, 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair and No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. We'll get a couple of more scoreboard updates here by Peerless Energy before we get out of here. We're going to take you right up to the Blue Jay shoot-around with Austin Jacobson, as Creighton will be taking on Purdue in an exhibition game. That's coming up at the top of the hours. We continue. It's Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Jay Stinnett Contract, and that's where our hotline, 402-951-1620, Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Also brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Nick Hanley and Gary Sharp with you here on a game where Nebraska, boy, they gave us hope in the fourth quarter. They lose to Ohio State 21-17. Some of the final numbers real quickly. Nebraska total yards 273 to Ohio State's 285 yards. It was the Buckeyes with 221 yards in the air versus Nebraska's 152. And sack adjusted total rushing yards 142 for Nebraska, 4.7 per tote to Ohio State 74, 2.6. The Black Shirts were back at it when it came to shutting down the run. They did a hell of a job against two very good running backs in Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. Kind of the tail of the tape there. Dylan Raiola was 21 of 32, 152 yards. He did have an interception. Will Howard, who was efficient, but after that interception he had, though, had a brief moment where I don't think he was right. Missed a pass on the flat where he airmailed, but he was 13 of 16, 221 yards, 3 tutties, and an interception. Dante Dada leads Nebraska with 14 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown. We mentioned the combination of running backs. It was Quinshon Judkins with 10 carries for 29 yards, Travion Henderson 10 for 25. A couple of the numbers there. Receiving-wise, Nebraska led by Ja'Cory Barney, 7 receptions, 49 yards. And also it was Thomas Fidone with 4 catches, 55 yards on the afternoon, including a 33-yard reception. That's the numbers of this one. Penalties were an issue. The officiating was bad. It wasn't, but also some positives for Nebraska when it came. And we mentioned the special teams and field goal kicking. John Hull, who kicked 3 field goals, 3 of 3, 39 yards, 54 yards, and 47 yards. Give Nebraska a little bit of boost in that department as well. But at the end of the game, it was 21-17, where Ohio State had to come from behind and then hold off Nebraska to win that one in the fourth quarter.
Hey, one quick thing before we get back to the calls. On the first down spot that was blown, it's a 4-yard difference. A couple of people have brought this up to me, and now I'm getting all kinds of screenshots. They're wondering if the officiating crew got confused by Lutovsky on the ground that he had the ball, because there are 2 officials, like one marking the ball.
They mark it right where he's at,
where Lutovsky is.
Yes.
And they think that the Ohio State player that tackled him, actually Lutovsky had the ball.
Which is ridiculous.
Because that is where they did mark the ball. It
was dead on to that spot where Lutovsky was. And
that is,
I don't think any official is going to admit
awful.
That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. There's really nothing else you can say about that sequence. And then the subsequent OPI that was called was atrocious as well. It was one of many. Let's go right back to the Jason at Contracting Hotline, 402-951-1620, and say hi to Jack. What's up, Jack?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
You bet.
All right. So I'm 18. I'm from Omaha, and I've lived here my whole life. And right now, after the game, I'm thinking about 2016 when we were 7-0 at Wisconsin, and we lost in overtime. I was 11 years old, and I'll never forget how that game made me feel, how heartbroken I was. And since then, it's just felt like the program's been in a spiral, kind of. And it obviously started way before that, but for at least my life, that's where it started. And every single Saturday, it just feels like, even if we don't lose, the game itself is a heartbreak. And to be honest with you, I'm just kind of sick of it. And something needs to change. And that change is with Ed Foley and Marcus Satterfield. And every time I say that to someone, I get hit back with, well, Ed Foley's that's Rhule's guy, you know, or Satterfield, that's Rhule's guy. Well, this is freaking football. This is not Thirsty Thursday with your boys. Like, no one cares who your guy is. This is football, and I watch the game to win. I want to win. I want to make a playoff. I'm done with Ed Foley, and I'm done with Marcus Satterfield, and I want him gone. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, Jack. That's true. It's not Thirsty Thursday. I think when you're making a certain amount of money, you can I hope as fans you can expect the guy that's making that type of money to treat it a little bit more than Thirsty Thursday. Know that if there are changes that need to be made, that those will be made. I get the reluctance in believing what I just said there, but yeah.
Man, you would think that Jack that just called in, and I think Jack took one for the team. Good job, Jack. I wonder who your parents are.
I have a feeling you might know. Let's go to our next caller on the Jason.
Jack just echoed his dad. His dad's afraid to call in because everybody knows his dad's voice. So he had his son call in. Hey, well played. I will keep your name out.
Okay.
Well played, family.
Let's go to Andy up next on Big Red Overreaction. Hey, Andy.
Oh,
Andy, you there?
Andy, call back.
All right. Next up is Jim on Big Red Overreaction. Hey, Jim.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. We've completed 8 games of a 12-game season that gives us 4 games left, which means all of our red shirts should be available for the rest of the year. How do you think that might affect some personnel decisions? I'm thinking Malachi Coleman and maybe even Danny Kalen going forward. I'll hang up.
No, hold on. No. I'm going to address the last one. What do you mean, Danny Kalen? You think Kalen should play?
He's eligible to take snaps if we wanted to. I'm not saying he should replace Dylan or anything like that.
Okay, so he was okay. Now I get what you're saying. I think he was on the trip again, so that's 2 straight weeks he's been on road games.
Yep.
But I don't anticipate him playing this year unless there is an injury to Dylan. But what you're saying, Jim. So Riley Van Poppel has one game to go. But did you happen to hear word of the travel roster today?
I heard that running back wasn't on the travel roster.
So Liebentritt could be out. So Liebentritt
was there, I think. Yeah.
No, Liebentritt was hurt, and he might be out for a bit. He got hurt against Indiana, and it impacted. Lindenmeyer came in and played a little bit of fullback when they went the I formation or used an extra blocker in the backfield. But defensive backs was different. So Caleb Benning was on the trip. He hasn't played in a game, and he's kind of running with the twos right now. Donovan Jones from Omaha North, who is a true freshman, he was on the trip. And then another guy on the back end that was on the trip was Braylon Prude.
Yep.
So I don't know what their plan is. But those would be 3 guys because Nebraska's safeties need some help. Those would be 3 guys that possibly could get in the next month. But you're right. Now you can do the math and you can, play some guys like Malachi. I don't know. Malachi might have a better opportunity, Jim, right now to be on special teams than in be in the wide receiver rotation.
Jim, appreciate the call, Jim. Chris is up next here on Big Red Overreaction. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, hi. How are you guys doing?
Good, Chris. How are you today?
Oh, good. Just driving up to my cabin in the Sandhills, but I watched the game,
man.
and I've seen us win 4 national championship games. I've seen us lose a couple in mini bowl games, and I don't know how many countless coaching staffs. And I'm behind Coach Rhule 100%. I like what he's doing. I know it's a process, and I've got real issues with Coach Satterfield, but we don't have anybody that can block on the perimeter. He's limited on what he can do. We can't run up the middle. We can't do bubble passes. We can't do screen. We just need better people out there, I think. And I think they're in the way. I don't know why we don't give other Banks was just awful today. I hate to pick on one person, but on those plays out there, he just can't cover anybody.
Yeah, Chris. Don't you think that's an effort thing? Because when he wanted to block, he sprung Dowdell for a 20-yard run.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Did that in the UTEP game too?
I think that the potential's there, but if he can't do it, I think it's the next man up. And what are we going to lose? But I think I'm more concerned with the not so special teams. Buschini really has been one of the most inconsistent punters I've seen for years. And I don't know what the problem is there, but you can't shank 25-yard punts in a game like that and give Ohio State good field position and expect to the defense was stellar. I understand that, but it just comes back to haunt you in so many ways. And catching the ball last week on the 2 and running out of bounds, I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's mental. And then today, start the game the way we started out. There's just so many special teams problems that I'm really at a loss. I don't know. I appreciate taking my call. I didn't really add a lot, but
it's a good venting session, Chris.
I'm going to be behind these guys like I have been for almost 70 years. So here I am. I'm red all the way through. So thanks for taking my call,
Chris. Thank you. So Buschini bounced back. That was a terrible scenario. That from the kickoff to the opening drive kind of was encapsulated where Nebraska football is.
Yep.
But again, then you had an inkling that defense is in for it today.
Yep.
They make a play, and Mr. Butler. Like, it was good to see young guys play well for Nebraska on defense. Like Butler and McGahee made impacts. Older guys,
good call, McGahee. Yep.
Blown assignments. They do have one issue here. For some reason, their communication to the back end on this defense is off periodically. And boom, 2 blown assignments.
Yes.
But you can't, with your eyes and buying on a fake, you can't be an older guy and have that happen to you and then watch Jeremiah Smith blow by you. But I want to go back to Buschini. So I thought Buschini bounced back. So he finished the day 6 punts, 41 yards. He put 1 inside the 20. So he's the least of my concerns right now. I think another thing that is, we got so excited against the UTEP game. I think I might have written a blog about it. That, oh my God, Nebraska has the punt return game is back.
Yeah.
You know what the punt return game looks like? Exactly like last year.
Yep.
There's not an opportunity to return punts, or it doesn't seem like a desire to return punts.
Even a little bit in the Colorado game. Yeah, IGC was moving the ball up the field, even 7 yards, but moving it up the field a little bit. And yeah, it's reverted back to what we saw last year. We are going to take a quick break, our final break, and we are going to get to your call. So
Dan the Corn Man.
Yeah, Dan the Corn Man.
What makes Dan the Corn Man? Is that what he looks like?
That's what he told me.
I like that. You know what? I think we need to have on this show, because you never know if the show is going to come off the rails. People need to self-gloss themselves more. Give themselves a nickname. And that's how we'll refer to them on the show.
People call me Hot Cheddar.
Hot Cheddar?
Yeah.
Is that a Green Bay Packer thing?
I guess so.
Okay.
Some random guy gave me that name.
Hot Cheddar.
Hot Cheddar?
Wow.
Yes, sir.
I hope you got away from that person.
Please tell me.
Yes, I did.
Please tell me you're going to buy a license plate that has that on there.
Hot Cheddar.
That could be a good consideration. We'll see. We'll see in the future.
We'll come right back to wrap up the show. Again, Big Red Overreaction is brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Also brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. We will wrap it up, take some final calls, and get you out to Creighton, Purdue. It is Big Red Overreaction, 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, and brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Nick Haley alongside Gary Sharp. Our final segment. We're going to take you right up to the top of the hour for Blue Jay shoot-around with Austin Jacobson as Creighton is taking on Purdue in an exhibition game. So we're going to get right to
my man over there that's going to host Blue Jay shoot-around.
Oh, he's here.
I didn't know he's running in the, what's it called? The Good Halsey?
Oh, the Halsey? The Good Life Halsey?
Half Halsey. No, that doesn't mean you come over here and talk. You got an hour and a half coming up at 5.
Yeah, save the pipes.
Is that right? You're running that tomorrow in Lincoln?
So you're going to do a pregame, and then you're going to run. It's a half, right? Yes. All right. Do you have a certain time that you're shooting for?
I'm running with somebody else. So
okay. So whatever they're okay. Yeah. That's a good teammate right there.
145.
Ooh, okay. All right. I like it. I felt good when I got 155. So good for you.
Good on you.
That was the Lincoln half 2 years ago. Right now, it'd probably take me about 2.5 hours to do that. Let's get right back to the Jay Sinnet Contracting Hotline and lead off with Terry. Hey, Terry, you're on Big Red Overreaction. How are you?
Hey, good, guys. Hey, great call, great meeting as always, and I appreciate you guys on Saturday. Hey, just real quick, I got a couple things. I don't think the secondary is as good as it was last year. That's just my feeling. Corners don't look as confident, and there's a lot of miscommunication going on, just a lot.
Yep.
The other question I have is, hopefully in the next 4 games, we see a Cardinal Nelson, because I think where Nebraska seemed to really screw up today is, Fedoni at times was there, and Fedoni should have been involved in that last drive. I mean, they were looking more downfield. I just want to know, where did the tight end go, and why not put 2 tight ends in there, especially with Nelson, because right now there's really no big answers with some of our wide receivers consistently. And I guess the last question I would ask you guys, out of all these portal guys that we went out and got, other than just stabilizing a position, name 1 or 2 in the last 2 years that you think, number one, they're not Big Ten, but that are really outstanding players that you would point to as a difference maker. So I want to hear what you guys' opinion on that is.
Trey Palmer. Are we talking about this current roster right now?
I think he's the last 2 years.
Last 2 years, okay. Ooh. It's a good question.
Usually takes, it looks like the system here takes you to your second year. They're not big on first-year guys.
MJ Sherman had a great game.
So he's a second-year guy.
Yep.
But yeah, MJ Sherman is a lot better than he was last year.
Yep.
But in terms of, if we're looking on return on investment, maybe this is where Terry is going, of portal guys, it usually takes until the second year. But that does not make up for your 2 top wide receivers need to play like your 2 top wide receivers.
Yep.
If they have NFL aspirations, come on.
I mentioned Trey Palmer, and we thought, I don't want to say he was going to be the same type of player, but Jamal Banks was supposed to have that type of impact, and has not. He just hasn't. Had the one play where he was open. Dylan's got to hit that. There's no question, but man, you got to get physical too on the perimeter.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I mean, if you look at this, Steven, so Tommy Hill was not there today. He was out. We kind of banked on all year that a healthy Tommy Hill would stabilize at least one side.
Mm-hmm.
You already knew coming into fall camp that Bly Hill was not going to be available. Now, there's another guy, back to a previous caller's question. Does Bly Hill enter the conversation in the last month of November, at least to get him on the field and get him lathered up so you know something going into next spring on what you have there, if it matches what you saw in the previous spring before he got injured. So Tommy Hill not being there has kind of shooken things up. Buford, the people are picking on Nebraska because there is film now to say, all right, what does Nebraska do well? What did then don't do well in the back end? Let's see if we can get Gifford in coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can stretch Buford vertical.
Yep.
You saw more Deshaun Singleton. You saw
well.
More Deshaun Singleton today came in and played the run.
Yeah.
Like that actually is one of his strengths. But I think, Nebraska's schedule helped them avoid some realities. And then the last 2 weeks, as the schedule has gotten more difficult, or even a game against Illinois, you're like, whoa. And then you go, yeah, that's that. We knew that was going to be a problem. Because I haven't been enamored with Nebraska safeties before the season even began.
Yeah.
And that's an area you can see that Nebraska subtly knows that they've got to fix the back end. Just look at their recruiting.
Yep.
They've got 400 defensive backs that are in the redshirt freshman or freshman.
Yeah.
Now that might be exaggeration because it would violate some NCAA rules, but you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
My problem today was it looked like the defensive backs were doing something different from the actual play call. And I don't know if that goes into play of now we're starting to see John Butler compared to Evan Cooper and the knowledge of the system and the lingo that goes with it. Because the blown assignments today were simply miscommunication.
Yeah.
A little bit of athleticism, but miscommunication it looked like as well.
Yeah, and you brought that up earlier in the week about the difference between Evan Cooper and the verbiage and the John Butler and his, was that even something that we saw last week against Indiana? We got time maybe for 2 calls. We'll try to squeeze you in here. Let's get to Jay. Jay,
you have to
next.
go on right at 5, or can we get 3 calls in?
Okay,
we get 3 calls in.
Okay, Joey, we can do that? Okay, cool. We're going to do that. So, Jay, it is Dan the Cornman, and Steve, you guys are going to be the last 3 callers. Let's start off with Jay. Hey, Jay.
How you doing, gentlemen?
Good.
All right. Well, I'm going to be pretty short. On the defensive side of the ball, I will say this. I saw the secondary things, but in reality, it was 2 big plays. I think the defense played a pretty sound game. On the offensive side of the ball, I think in regards to all of the pressure on Satterfield, I will say this. In our judgment that we have to look at, and the thin line is this. Is it a very small margin for error in our play design, meaning that everybody has to execute perfectly for the play to work? And if that small room for error or margin for error is in play, then that falls on the play caller, right? Meaning that you have to give the guys an opportunity to play football.
100%.
Secondly, I would say on the offensive side of the ball, for that is, and you have to bring up execution. We don't know what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to do it. Secondly, I think that our hotshot quarterback is checking to a lot of those soft offensive plays. You saw 5 wide receivers out. You've seen that based upon the numbers that we had single coverage in some areas, and I see him make a effort, it looks like, to check to a different play. He checks to a bubble screen. They sniff it out. It's a 2-yard loss.
He did once for sure. I know that.
If the checks are dink and dunks, then change the checks to be more aggressive and then call the dink and dunk so that the quarterback can gain the confidence needed to hit those throws that we need him to hit in clutch times. Thanks for the call, gentlemen. Have a great day.
That is a great call and a great observation. So, I mean, kind of going in line, I'm going to throw perimeter blocking back into this. There was a play today where, God, who was it? It might have been Dowdell out of the backfield. The block actually was there, but the running back read the block incorrectly. Yeah. And so it looks like the block was terrible. It just shows you like they gotta be on point nearly every play. Now, I think he's right about Dillon and some of the checkdowns, but one of the things that happened at South Carolina under Satterfield is they said, we got to pare down this playbook. I go back, like Danny Kalin, one of the first things he said is, holy Christ, that playbook is awful large when he got here. Yeah. Again, last year was just a simpler time on offense because you had the threat of a quarterback run game. And so people couldn't look at you as predictable. And this year where you have more, or it appears to have more options, it's almost like you're hamstrung and it's like, who needs a touch?
Yeah.
Okay, we got to get a guy a touch. Well, you know what? We had 3 straight good runs here by the same running back. Let's see who else needs a touch.
Yep. And in doing so, it goes back to the crux of the issue is what are your go time plays? What are your money plays? Do you have a bag of 6 plays that no matter what you can go to and that's going to work? It's just because of all of that, try to distribute the football, figuring out that lack of identity.
I think we need to go back. I keep bringing this up in a tweeter, and AJ brought it up. I know it's been a long year and it's 8 games in, and I don't remember every single drive. Man, Nebraska offensively from the booth to the field seemed to be in sync and how it's supposed to look on the opening drive of the 3rd quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The opening drive of the second
best
half.
Today.
That looked, I don't know, just looked different.
Yeah, flow. They absolutely had flow. Let's go to Steve up next on Big Red Overreaction. Hey, Steve.
Hi, great show. Sorry I called in late, didn't hear every comment, but One comment, when Osborne was around, I thought he'd go through the film and say, here was a block that was missed, and that's why this didn't work. Here's a block that was missed. And the blocking by the tight ends and wide receivers was critical for success. And with my untrained eye, I could see many missed blocks by our receivers in the first half. And Osborne's rule, I thought, was if you can't block, you can't play. What's happening with that? We seem to have players out there, not to say any names, but just in the first half, I saw number 4 miss 5 times. The play would have been great if they would have blocked.
Accountability, yeah. There's one receiver, and I even saw him miss a block last week. Everybody did bad stuff last week, but it's Alex Bullock. He's the one guy that you can maybe count on more times than not that can actually get on the perimeter and block. But when he's on the field too, doesn't that make it a little bit more predictable too of what he's going to do? Because he's not going to be your route runner. So we've seen Isaiah Naylor miss blocks. Fedoni, if you want to consider him more out there on the perimeter, does a better job than not. There's one that he missed, but then came right back, and he usually atones for that. But it's a problem. It's a big problem.
It's called effort.
Yeah,
it's called effort. You know what the play is called. You know how integral you are to the running game. I mean, Nebraska's running game has some issues up front with everything being on the same page, but they're not helping themselves if they can't block on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like a little things, but there is effort. Get in front of a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, do something. Just again, they're hamstrung offensively. I think we're trying to make. I'm not saying you.
Yeah.
But we're trying to make this offense into something that it's not. It's not super explosive. It needs a break along the way. Mm-hmm. It needs a really good individual play, and it needs that time where 11 guys are doing their job.
Yeah.
Simply just execution, doing their job, and I'm go back to the opening drive of the second half today. I mean, Nebraska looked different offensively. Mm-hmm. It seemed like everything was in sync.
Some holes were opening up too, running the football. Yeah, it was good. Our last call of the day, Dan the Corn Man. You are the last caller on Big Red Overreaction for the day.
Well. I'm happy to be the last caller. But first, I got 2 things. Number 1, the special teams looked awesome today. I was very happy with them. No blocked kicks, no missed kicks. It was pure perfection for tackling on the punt returns when they did them. And then my second thing is a question for Satterfield. How many times can you run a damn screen before you realize it's not working?
You should Tuesdays. The coordinator.
Hey, that's a good way.
The coordinators speak. You should ask them on Tuesday.
That's a good way to end the show because that'll turn into some low hanging fruit. That is actually poison. Is the screen.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a good game to have the all 22. This would have been a good game to be sitting upstairs where you can see wide receivers, and because I think you get a better picture when you watch the all 22 or you're in person, you're up high. You can see maybe what the idea was of how that play is supposed to develop.
Yep.
I just don't like there's some of the. I'm not opposed to screens, and they're running the tunnel screen.
Yep.
But you got to play the number game. There were 2 in particular that were pretty important in later downs on a series where it was 3-on-6. And there's absolutely no way because the person with the ball in their hand is not good enough to win a 3-on-6 battle. Right. They're just not.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
But it goes back to something Jay said, and that's that's one of the best calls we've had all day. And no offense to everybody else, but Jay brought some things up that are worthy of discussion is what was the play call supposed to be? Mm-hmm. We don't ever get that. They don't after the game. They don't after the game that, Rhule on Mondays has film out and he says, this is what the play call was, gentlemen and ladies. This is actually what it turned out to be.
Yeah. This is what we checked into. Yep. It's a fantastic point. And to the one that stood out to me more than anything was checking down to it was a near side screen and it got blown up but you could tell there was definitely a check at the line of scrimmage on that one. So were there more? Probably. I have to go back and look at that. But yeah, I'd be curious to know not just what Marcus Satterfield is seeing, but what is Dylan seeing in that situation as well. So,
I don't think this game taught me anything new. And I'm not going to, that should not be taken as a negative.
No.
I have said Nebraska is who they are. Today, They played with focus. They played with pride. They did their job on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And what is this whole season predicated on? The whole vibe of Nebraska football is about the defense, right?
Yep.
If the defense gives up 56, we're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
But if the defense does their job, they allow you an opportunity. And today, they hamstrung Ohio State. Ryan Day's got some serious play calling issues as well in their passing game.
Yeah, he and Chip Kelly.
So you and also I think they might have a trust issue with Will Howard.
Yeah.
And I think this was before the Oregon game. But everything I saw from Nebraska is kind of who I thought Nebraska would be.
Mm-hmm.
They just happened to make breaks today, not enough of them against a team that has, is a 5-star factory. So, but I started with this, and I'm going to stick to this, and I'm probably going to repeat it when we're back together at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. Games like today will you either go the route of, man, I love how the boys fought, or you're going to be frustrated and a little bit angry because of what was left out there, and the opportunity to finally get that monkey off your back and go from process to results is games like these against top teams when you are not a 5-star factory. Players and coaches get exposed. Then there are guys that you can point to and go, that dude's ready for prime time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we're playing in this game because now I know a lot more about him.
Yep. And you've got more opportunities in front of you, including a big one against UCLA next week to get what I would totally agree with you, Gary, is a big opportunity to do exactly that, get bowl eligible, go to a bye week, and then see what that looks like if you can get that 6th win next week. And we will be back to talk about it next week. We'll start the process on Monday at 6 a.m. mornings with Sharp and Hanley with Gary and myself. Big thanks to Joey Colbert, our producer. For Gary Sharp, I'm Nick Hanley. Thanks for listening to Big Red Overreaction. Y'all were great. Stick around. We've got Blue Jay Shoot-Around with Austin Jacobson leading you right into the pregame show. It is Creighton and Purdue, little exhibition basketball downtown Omaha. Until Monday, have a great night.